So people, welcome to the Pedal Dive podcast. Today we have an amazing guest. I've been looking to get Markus on since the beginning of the podcast. He is literally Mr. Fuzz. It is Markus Reeves. And my co-host today, and his cat. Hey, Postman Partner's cat. And my co-host today is...
John Mulholland, Space Wolf. Greetings and salutations, Markus. Master of point-to-point wiring in the house. Doing great.
Yeah, thank you.
Space Wolf. Greetings and salutations.
Yeah, so there's definitely an echo.
Oh, that was my laptop. Yeah, that was my laptop.
All right. Yeah. So thanks for having me on, guys.
Mute real quick.
I'm just having to have a little bit of bit of cat time at the moment. He's been outside screaming at me. Come on, you're gonna have to go out.
Get needy. They always know when you need to do something.
Yeah. Go on.
See some of the usual suspects popping up in the chat now.
Anyway,
good to see you guys. Hubcat John, Dan Otley, Dave Barry, Jimmy Smith, yoo-hoo, hyped for his first live stream.
I'll get in. John Hayward, Hubcap John. Cheers for the kit, mate. The kit he sent me was absolutely spot on. And I managed to mess it up.
Oh, no way.
I'm sure you don't.
Well, I've got one of John's pedals.
I did.
The classic stuff.
Oh, unbelievable. I tell you what I did, though. I wired the whole thing up without wiring the stomp switch in. So it was just like on.
Oh,
God. Schoolboy error.
Straight on camera as well. Brilliant.
Yeah. I'm just going to see if I can get on the stream so I can read the comments as well. So.
Yeah, it's gotten cold again here. I had to put on the warm
Whereabouts
fuzzy hat
are
today.
you?
What part? In like the foothills of the mountains in North Carolina, in Wilkes County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're right.
The second largest county in the state, but with one of the smallest populations. So there's a lot of open land.
A lot of room. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm in just about the most landlocked position in the UK you could possibly get. We're right in the middle, surrounded by everybody. So, yeah.
I can't imagine not living by the sea.
No, well, I was brought up by the sea. Lived in Southend for a lot of time, and then out into Norfolk. Lived on the Norfolk coast. So yeah, this is like I've got used to it now, but for a long time, I've missed being by the sea. So yeah.
To be fair, Markus, it takes me equally as long amount of time to get to the sea from where I'm at as it would for you.
Yeah, I bet.
You gotta remember, like this is the United States we're talking about, and
yeah,
I mean it's like the closest I probably could be like 5-6 hours, and that would be driving pretty fast. So.
That's basically the UK.
Yeah. So
yeah, 2 hours. 2 hours in on any direction, you'll get to the sea. In the
you're
UK.
close. You're closer to the sea than I am. Then.
Yeah.
I think I could go down the bottom of my street and see the sea.
Oh no way!
Maybe not that close. Close enough.
Yeah. We do have a large man-made body of water. Army Corps of Engineers flood control dam, the Kerr Scott Reservoir, and that's where I grew up water skiing and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So
brilliant.
We do have a water culture around here, lots of streams and rivers. I did a lot of whitewater things, and we would get a wild hare and go surfing every now and then, hit the coast and do that. So
I think at this point, if I never step foot on anything that's on water again, I'll be happy, man.
Yeah.
I'm a landlubber.
Yeah.
So Markus, how have you been? My land legs are firmly back. It seems like everywhere I look, there's a picture of one of your pedals or a new pedal drop or the sellout. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's been quite the year, really. Just been heads down building pedals to pay for this lot, basically.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, I did a wait list drop. So I kind of crowdfunded it, if you like. I was obviously completely transparent that, I needed. It was either go to the bank or do a massive pre-sale drop. And kind of, I did that. But I spent a year building the pedals, literally.
Oh, man.
It's so funny you should say that, because that's kind of the spot that I'm in. I had a real estate deal fall through with the hurricane that hit here in North Carolina. I have property in Asheville that I was selling, and 3 days before the final closing, like everything was done. I'd already done all the stuff. We'd spent a bunch of money getting everything together, and then everything was null and void.
Man.
And so now all the equity that I had that I was going to put into building my studio is tied up until we can get that sold. So I'm just like, I'm going to have to crowdfund or something, because I don't want to, like you, I don't want to go take out a loan or do a home equity loan or anything like that. I'd rather crowdfund and give somebody something. Give somebody something for their, for their money, and say, hey, this is what I'm building. This is where I'm building it. And this is going to help. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it seemed to work, and I'm just.
We've got a few good comments in the chat here. First of all, Adventures in Gearland. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Of course, we never ever say that, but thank you very much. I do always forget. We have got the original pedal builder that got me into literally building pedals. Stu T.
Hey up, Stuart.
Oh, Stu.
How's it going, mate? Oh man, I remember the first time Stu messaged me. I was literally in bed on my phone messaging him back. My wife's like, what's wrong with you? It's like, what? It's like, you're being all weird. I was like, oh my God, I'm talking to Stu State. Stu State, I can't believe it. And she's like, stop being such a girl pants. Like, like I was talking to someone famous. Class.
Starstruck. I can only imagine what'll happen if we get Brian on. When we get
mate,
Brian
that's
on.
mental.
I know.
I cannot believe you managed to pull that one.
I told you, mate.
You did have to tell him that I'd be melting.
Well, I mean, transparency.
So you've got Brian coming on, Brian Wampler.
Yeah.
Oh, wicked. Mate. Yeah. Massive fan. I mean,
anyone who knows me knows that I love him.
And he and I kind of got started in the same era, and we were on the same forums. So, and we both had the same experience where we had a bunch of keyboard warriors that thought that, they kind of had secret sauce and they wanted to poo-poo on anybody's ideas. And it just got to the point where it was, we sort of forged ahead until the Renaissance.
You started about then, Marcus, did you? When did you start building?
Well, I mean, it's 19. Well, I got the bug early 90s when I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even own a soldering iron, and I was in a band, and the other guitarist had this big round thing and was like, it doesn't work. You can have it if you want it. If you can fix it, you can have it. So I was like, okay. Went down to Maplin's, spent £3 on a soldering iron, and then literally just poked at it with a hot soldering iron. I don't know.
By the gods, I'll make it work.
And magic happened, and I got it to work.
Oh, man.
And I was like, that's pretty cool. And I was literally hooked from then onwards. And every time I build a batch, I'm searching for that dopamine rush again. Every time I fire up a pedal, I'm like, I get a little bit of that first hit,
Yeah, that's it.
And I was like, right, okay, so why? I mean, I've no idea what the fuzz for. I don't know where it is, what happened to it, what it was. I didn't know the difference between a capacitor and a resistor and a transistor. I didn't. They would just gump in a pedal then, so it could have been a NKT 275, super duper, magic job.
Oh, man. Imagine that.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it could have quite easily been, because in the 90s, even back in the 90s, they were still just junk.
Oh yeah,
there wasn't really the kind of heat on them that there is now. It's really only been the last decade or so.
Stu says is what's for them off.
Exactly the same. I was down libraries finding it. Yeah. Mine's not up here at the moment, but yeah, everybody's got it.
I've had like 3 of them.
Yeah, what resistors were, what capacitors were, and all that sort of stuff, And
I just didn't know.
And then the internet happened, and I was on user groups and news groups and all that sort of stuff, trying to learn. And then Brian's book came out, and it was the first time I'd read anything. I didn't know about the electronic projects for musicians by I've got
Anderson.
all of them up here.
Yeah, Greg
Anderson,
Anderson.
yeah. I didn't know about those books.
Yeah, that's the one that got me started.
Yeah,
sure,
and so I was just like, this is the first piece of printed matter about electronics pointed towards guitar pedals and sort of guitar electronics. And literally my knowledge just went from reading that book.
Insane.
You know?
Well, Brian has a good way of explaining things for the layman too. He makes it so that it's not, this Greek language that you're having to learn and all symbols and things. It's like, he makes it so that, it's like, okay, you're going to see this and this is what it means, but this is what it looks like on your board. And this is why. And, it's what everybody like that wanted to get into it as a hobby was like lacking, I think, out there. Like they were being just hit with all this technical information and electronics engineers telling them they had to do, these certain things and those certain things, or else it was, rubbish. And so, you kind of had these gatekeeper kind of mentalities until things like that. Well,
the thing is, I don't envy anybody trying to get into it now because there's so much BS on the internet now. There's so much misleading stuff. Yeah, but it just, it's just got worse, I think. There's so much more. When we started, there wasn't so much misinformation about it,
Yes, true.
And there's a lot of stuff that's gone down into folklore, like, for instance, the whole thing with fuzz faces, with having the low HFE in Q1 and the higher HFE in Q2. That came from a paper on the user groups written by
I think I've read this.
What's his name? The guy that's kind of he's
is it
full-time. Mike Fuller.
Yeah.
Fuller, yeah.
So Mike Fuller did this paper about his kind of preference for fuzz faces. That was just at the right time where everybody grabbed it, and it's become law.
Well, and there was like the people that the pioneers of the internet, like putting things out there, they got kind of elevated to the status where anybody that questioned anything that they said, they would just say, well, look, this guy's been saying it since the internet. And then so it was like first to the party, got loudest platform sometimes.
Absolutely. I know
that's what Brian and I were dealing with in the forums, the same kind of mentality. It's like so and so said so it has to be true. And like it's just amplified because there's even more people on the internet to spout the same kind of nonsense over and over
exactly
again.
They've read it and they're like, okay, this is what you do.
Like Joe and myself, we're here to spout a lot of nonsense sometimes.
I don't do the whole learning thing as well if I'm not physically doing it. So I can read something 1,000 times. I can read the schematic 1,000 times. I don't know anything about it until I've built it with my own hands and changed some bits out. So when I'm designing a circuit, I don't do it on a breadboard. I build it and then I'll mod it and then I'll desolder bits and solder other bits in until I'm happy. And that's why I've figured out what I like with transistors. I mean, I like an even lower HFE than most people use. Like Stu, funnily enough, sent me a load of 50 HFE transistors. So he was like, they're not the spec that I want. Great. But for me, they're great for fuzz faces. 50 HFE in Q1 or a 40 in Q1. I'm happy with that. As long as
I've got hundreds and hundreds of BC 118s.
Oh, yeah.
And they come in at between 40 and 70.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant for certain positions in I've got plans on a hybrid Mark 1 tone bender.
Oh, nice.
And they'll be perfect for that. Absolutely perfect for that. Yeah.
They would probably be perfect for something like a Mosrite Fuzzrite as well. That circuit
absolutely.
They use low HFE really well. And the Fuzzrites that I've built that sound the best are really low HFE, and one's really leaky and one's really tight.
Yeah. You heard it here first. We've got plans. We're actually going to be putting together the Is-Right.
Awesome.
Oh, yes. What a name. Yeah. Sounds like a Scouser said it. What the?
That's right, mate. That's right. Yeah.
That's class.
I'll drink to that. Rami
Yeah.
Liddell for that. Eh?
So
I
yeah, so that's one
That's
of
class.
Izzy's fuzzes that she's going to be putting together. Yeah, and
Sweet.
yeah, so that'd be good. So that's what we're going to use those for.
That
as
circuit,
much as anything.
Some of the crackle and the sizzle that comes out of that circuit is just,
Yeah.
iconic. I mean,
Thing is, Catlin Bread got hold of the circuit and they've got the kind of license to do it, but their versions that they make are really smooth. They're kind of trying to dial out the bustedness out of it.
I love the bustedness. I mean, I'm a huge Davey
that's
Allen
exactly
and the
what the
Eras
fuzz
fan.
right is about.
And like I know Davey, as a matter of fact. Like I've been his friend on Facebook for a few years now, and he's just got that ability to like take it to the edge and like figure out what it's going to do and work with it. And that's what I love about a fuzz is the unpredictability and where it takes you.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a big fan of a band called Black Angels.
Oh yeah,
and they use Fuzzrite a lot, and old ones as well. So it's a great circuit. I think it needs. I've got a feeling the Fuzzrite will be the next Zonk, because there's been a big, the last few years, the Zonk has really taken off.
Yeah. Well, that was Matey Boy wearing it. The upside down strat guy is right-handed but plays a left-handed strat. Oh my god.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
One Junior.
Yeah.
Mick Taylor's massively into him.
If Roy Clark,
I can see his face now. No, that's Gary Clark
Gary
Jr.
Clark,
No, I'm on about
not Gary Clark Jr.
Some guy who uses. You know what I'm on about, don't you? He's got long brown hair.
It's funny, isn't it? Mind going blank. Initials are DC. I know that.
He plays left-handed.
So he's right-handed but plays the left-handed guitar.
And his Zonk has done the rounds of all the various pedal builders. The machine that he actually uses.
No. He's Philip Chase plays right-handed. No, he's
oh my god!
He plays the left-handed guitar upside down.
3 pedal builders here. Can't remember the name of exactly who.
I can see his face. It's most annoying.
You need to Google it. Hang on.
I know. I'm gonna have to. I'm in.
It's got to be one of those pictures that popped up on my Instagram feed from all my friends that are at NAMM right now, because a whole bunch of my friends are at NAMM, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm jealous.
Doyle Bramall a second.
Doyle Bramall, there you go. Yeah,
there you go.
DB, not
So he's
the second.
I think he's made it popular.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
his rig rundown thing. He clicked it on, and like even I was like, what was that? So
yeah. I've spoken to a few people that have dissected his Zonk as well that have had it. I know Aaron at Dominion has had that pedal, and
what a nice guy he is as well. By the way, he's normally on there.
Nice guy, Aaron. You should get him on the show. He'd be great to have on the show.
That'd be definitely awesome. Yeah.
He's blew my mind with some fuzz face knowledge. Like he really is.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was having a chat with him about the other day about HFEs and about this thing with the fuzz face with the two, the lower HFE and Q1 being a kind of urban myth, really.
Well, I was saying that when me and John, our first episode was the fuzz face, and he said to me, I can't believe you're putting a higher gain in Q2. It goes in Q1, and I was like, no, it doesn't. And it weren't until John mentioned it that I thought maybe I'll try it out the other way around. And
I mean,
there's no better. It's just different.
It was just my trial and error that led me to that, and that's just. And I didn't even realize I was experimenting with the fuzz face circuit, because I was experimenting with a circuit that someone else claimed was their original circuit, which is basically just a fuzz face circuit with a different C value for the input capacitor. It was like a 10 microfarad. Electrolytic.
Turns into a treble booster at that point.
And then
you look at the damn meathead. That's got a higher Q1. So
well, and then too, I've designed a circuit that you flip one of them around, and I call it the boot face, and so it uses different R and C values as well. And
Yours is much more split, like much more in the zonk sort of vein. It's less smooth and more raspy, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can still get it to like do the gated kind of sounds, but it goes into a smooth overdrive, and it's got some really interesting response. But it was just I put a transistor in backwards by accident when I was like testing out transistors, and I got a sound out of it, and so it led down a rabbit hole. So I mean, I'm the kind of person that's like, I'm looking for different sounds and how to find them. So anything that's like set in, some sort of schematic, I look at that as a jumping off point. Like it's where you take it.
Funnily enough, have you tried the Axis Fuzz by Roger Mayer?
No,
played one of them.
I have. Yeah. It's I mean, there's a lot of people that say that Roger Mayer was actually repurposing fuzz face enclosures for quite some time before he started getting his own enclosures. So Jimmy was actually playing Axis fuzzes a lot earlier than we think.
Walter's Love was recorded with that exact thing.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
So I've just gone down a rabbit hole because
it's a much smoother, much more. It's much more refined. Way more
silicon
refined
fuzz that cleans up like it's like a silicon fuzz that cleans up like a germanium. It's insane. So I've not tried the original. Got to preface it with that. But I went down a rabbit hole with it because obviously
played one of them yet, then.
Oh mate, this is what we need to. This black sound.
That's the,
with the bias set all the way around. Honestly, they clean up like you would not believe.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get into that. In fact, we're like 20 minutes in and we haven't even mentioned the pedal that we're talking about. I love it. I just finished filming an Axis Fuzz video, but it was that long because I was procrastinating so much that it's going to go over 2 episodes.
They are really cool. I mean, I'm thinking about doing one, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, I'm going
to have a few built for Birmingham in March, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Blimey, that's coming up quick, isn't it?
Insane, mate. I feel like I haven't had time to catch a breath. This year, like, been mental.
Yes.
I
should be there both days, walking around.
I'll be there.
Finally could like take a breath myself. Like, just a perfect storm of stuff happened after, all the stuff with the real estate sale. Then my mom injured herself, and like I'm just like, I can finally think about building things again.
Yeah.
I'm in this weird place where I haven't quit my day job still, and every time I come to the end of my time, I'm like, I could do it for another 2 years.
I mean, I was pushed really. I didn't have it. I did kind of have a choice. I was given redundancy notice and a big check, and I thought, go on then. So
here's an opportunity, and
right at the beginning of the pandemic. Perfect storm,
perfect time.
I just built my first workshop. And it was literally the whole build it and they will come thing. I'd got this idea that I wanted a proper workshop. I'd always had scabby, leaky, drafty, cold workshops, or I was working in there on the dining room table or whatever. And I thought, I just want a workshop. Yeah. And I built this workshop, and then everything kind of happened. TPS. I got my and it was all in the space of like. I literally put the door on the workshop, and then all this pandemic thing was happening around me. I got made redundant. 2 weeks later, that pedal show featured my stuff, and it just all went bonkers. It's like a perfect storm, and I just grabbed hold and held on. Yeah.
I mean, you've grew into like a massive household name now. I mean, even the pedal courses. How did that come about? Did you think I've got to have a workshop or something?
Well, yeah. I mean, I just this is it's a fairly. I keep sitting there with my hand like that, and it keeps seeing the thumbs up thing. I don't know whether that's is that thumb thing coming up on the screen.
Yeah, it's popping up on the screen.
Are you
I'm
live
just doing that,
streaming on your
hey.
channel? Yeah.
Anyway,
it's probably people liking your live stream on Instagram or something.
Yeah, what happens if I do that? Oh, it's come up again.
Right.
Look. So anyway, so I had this space, and I thought, I was just thinking, it'd be nice to get actual humans in here. Really, you know, I don't. I do like my own company. I'm happy not to people for a very long time. I don't mind not peopling at all. And but every now and again, it's nice to to have guys in and and do that. So it was just something I wanted to do really. And then I've got the space. I thought, why not?
Well, the thing is, it's like we were saying before the stream. It's not worth holding on to this information like it's a secret of some kind.
There's no secrets now, is there?
No, you're better to share it and get everyone interested in this great, amazing hobby. So why not?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like you said, like going to be misinformation otherwise if people don't share it.
Yeah.
So
and also people that tend to be vague and hold on to be tight with their information and stuff. You get the vibe, and from people that they're kind of sneaky and hiding something, and whatever, and that comes across. And I'm a firm believer in people buy from people.
Mm-hmm.
As far as a business model is concerned, unless you're a big company, but you look at something like Wampler Pedals, Brian is still, people are buying from Brian.
Exactly.
And JHS and all those guys, they're buying from people. I was
going to say that. And Josh is just putting out so much information.
Yeah.
He is at the moment. Yeah. Absolutely.
I wish that was available back in, I started in like 2008. I wish it was available back then. It blew my mind. I probably wouldn't be.
Absolutely.
To be fair, I'd have been engulfed in it. So maybe
yeah. I mean, I have to say, he does have his own particular kind of circuit preferences, which when you're getting right down into such nuance, it's like red wine, and he likes one type of red wine. Whereas I like that. I like it a bit more like this, and so some of his biasing preferences I saw on one of the short circuit things. I was like, yeah, that's not where I would go with that.
But that's the beauty of pedal boards, isn't it? You can just get
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, absolutely. But it actually shows you the scope of the canvas that we have got.
Oh yeah, it's unlimited. Really.
Yeah.
This is a valid point as well. People are hide information, don't have the information in the first place. That is true. When I said that I first spoke to Stu, he actually gave me the input transformer circuit. I think me and Simon from JSS were talking about it and stuff, and then Stu actually gave me his design and said, "There's the values I use them." And I was like, "What is this guy doing? He's giving me his secrets," because I weren't quite in that sort of mindset yet. But fantastic. And then actually sent me a load of free pedals. Said, "Actually try them out in this pedal." Like, that's insane.
Brilliant.
A fellow that we've probably all built off of his internet schematics, Mark Hammer. All of his schematics, he just signs Mark and does all the tag board layouts.
Every pedal I've ever built.
Layouts and he's one of those guys that he was one of those lighthouses in the internet sea. Anytime that I had a question, he would actually give me a real answer, and he had so much knowledge. Yeah, so
that's crazy.
He was one of those guys that would actually share stuff, and that's somebody that Josh mentions a lot as like being one of the legends in the DIY community, as well as Brian mentions him. So, but nobody knows who he is almost.
I just knew him as Mark.
Yeah, well, on the forums, his handle is Mark Hammer, and it's like one of those things. Is like he doesn't really have a very public profile. You don't see much of him. He doesn't do any kind of videos or anything that I've seen. But he's got websites and actively like logs in and answers questions
But my go-to for schematics, I was just looking it up, is a guy called Philip Bryant.
Yep, Philip's another one. He's on the Fuzz forums.
Most of the schematics that I've started off using have been from Philip. So and these are the guys, that are they're kind of no longer active really, a lot of them, and but they've they really set the groundwork, and put these things in place before the bullshit started, really.
Yeah, and especially in the early days, like when people were like going to places like DIYstompbox.com, and there were a few others. Now there's GeoFX.
Tagboard. I mean, to be honest, the other kind of repository that has been an absolute, it's been the Bible for me is Tagboard Effects. I mean, it's obviously I don't build a lot on Tagboard, but I kind of there's so much to everywhere, and this is what right at the top of the show I was saying about this post that's blown up on Facebook that I've got at the moment. Everybody asking for the schematic for a fuzz face, and it's like, really?
I know.
Probably the most popular pedal schematic on the internet.
Oh yeah,
which you literally don't need.
Which flavor, which which language do you want it in? Yeah. I mean, I could probably find fuzz face schematics that everything was in a completely different language for you.
Absolutely.
And Adrian Thorpe, another one from Stu there. Absolutely. In fact, do you guys watch the Dan's new live talk show? What is it? The Chat GPT.
Something like that. Chat TPG or something like that. I watched when Adrian was on there the other night.
They were talking, and I'm doing the dishes as you do, watching it every week. And Adrian's a legend. I'm a massive fanboy. And then he talked about blowing a pedal up underwater. He said maybe you should get Joe on Hello Sailor Effects to help me blow it up. And Dan goes, "You know Joe?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, two of my fucking heroes are on the telly now, literally talking about me. In my life.
In fact,
I haven't, mate. No, it looks good though.
His unit is great. It's really, it is, as you'd imagine, it's run like a military operation. It is just
I can imagine.
A brilliant place to go.
There's being in the military, and then there's being a major, which is quite high up, bomb disposal expert, who's an MBE and harder than a coffin nail. It's a different game.
Yeah,
it's a whole different game.
I mean, you've got to know your onions when you're like blue wire, red wire. It's like you've got to know which wire.
That's funny. Like
I was talking to him, and he mentioned being on a program that involves some weapons of rather large destruction that we may or may not have, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was involved with that one." Like, holy shit, that's not a small thing. It's insane. So far, I've been a chief engineer on a ship, looking after a few people, bit of battle damage here and there. Done. He's MBE.
A couple of rivets. We're done. Yeah, that's right. Quite big rivets, size of your arm.
It's a different kettle of fish, but it was just insane to me because I was like, they're on the telly. I put it on the big telly and do whatever the housework, and they started talking about me, and I was like, this is insane. My life's got weird. My 5-year-old actually told my wife and all of the family when he said, "What does Daddy do?" We were expecting to say a sailor. She said, "He's a YouTuber." And I was like, "Get in, I made it."
There you go.
Brilliant. I bet it's like, yeah.
I made it. My kid thinks I'm actually good. Get in.
Kids.
Anyway, swinging it back to fuzz. What was the design idea for the Black Hat sound? The
Black Hat sound is, I mean, to be honest, its roots are in the fuzz face. It's kind of comes from fuzz face, from the meathead, from the one knob sound. you know, all those kind of things. I just took it and bent it to my ears, really, and then worked out a way of it's an unusual bias on it. It doesn't actually fully bias Q2 like most things.
Yeah.
It biases the relationship between the two transistors instead, because that's
You just got ballooned, mate. I love it.
Anyone listening to this on the actual podcast, not the video, Marcus has just got like loads of birthday balloons go off in his camera.
Oh, that doesn't come across on the. Oh, right. Okay, I'll have to see.
No, it does.
No,
I mean the audio podcast.
Oh, right. Oh, I got you. Yeah.
That's right.
So anyway, it biases the relationship between the two transistors. So it biases them both at the same time. And what that does, because if you try and bias in a fuzz face, if you try and bias the second transistor, generally when you get to the point of it, the gate point, it's quite abrupt. It's very, very difficult to get that soft kind of germanium gate, that very soft knee. Whereas if you can work it so that the Q1 is just gating first, and then it kind of gates at very slightly different points, it softens that knee, because both of them are gating at different times. It takes sometimes the biggest pain in the butt with these is auditioning the transistors. Really, is getting the transistors right. But apart from that, so that's why I've got, I've got all my, I've got versions of each pedal all set up. Where are we there? With transistor sockets on the top.
So I think you may have just answered the first proper question we've had. Is question for the floor: do you bias the voltage by ear the transistors by ear or by voltage? So we'll go to you first, then Marcus, for that one, shall we?
I mean, definitely by ear, because the circuits are set up to run a certain voltage, and obviously the bias has got its swing between two sets of certain voltages. And as long as I can get them to do what I want them to do around about the right point in the swing of the bias knob, I'm happy. Because if I know that they're doing that thing at that point, I know they do all the other things at all the other points. So, but then right at the beginning when I was designing the circuit, I was aiming for a ballpark voltage. And then, you go backwards and forwards to one and then go by ear. Then, right, okay, so that voltage is doing that, and notes and all that stuff. So
I use an audio probe. I literally Q1 bias in with an audio probe. Then Q2, you can hear it coming through the whole thing. And back to Q1, is it doing what I want? And I kind of balance, because I put pots in mine. So
because I suppose a lot of your stuff is more custom, isn't it?
100%.
Whereas mine, it's all identical.
Exactly. So you have a really good product for selling to people, whereas mine, everyone's always like, why don't you just make the same thing so I can buy what I like? Like, well, I just can't do it. So my Kossoff drive video that's coming out soon, I show how I bias each individual JFET. So even in that, there's 3 JFETs, and I'll do them all by ear with an audio probe, one at a time. It has to be. And I explain in that it's because I'm using not the same capacitors. They're not the same brand. They're not the same, makeup. For example, you tend to favor the JB caps, do you? Is that
I do. Right? I find them super consistent. And I tend to check the polarity on anything over about 100 NF. Anything under, I don't find that the noise is, because for people who may not understand that, even foil capacitors have a polarity. It's a direction. It's like a toilet roll. So it's a direction that it's wound. The foil is wound in, and if your signal is coming into the outside winds first, it is noisier. So you want your signal to be going into the middle first, and then going out of the outside winds.
So I picked that up from the Truth About Vintage Amps podcast.
Yes,
I built a few amps, and I was like, it makes no difference. And while I was building my Marshall Plexi, I actually tested it out. Shouldn't put your hands in it, but I did, and just twist the cap round. Like, oh my god, it makes a lot of difference.
The easy way to test that though is get a high gain pedal, put a lead into a high gain pedal, and just go get the ends of the capacitor, go from hot to ground, and then swap it round, and you'll hear
notice,
the difference.
Yeah, you'll notice which side is noisier.
Yeah, and it's all these little tips and tricks that help, I think, that build a good product versus just a good product, like a standard product.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day,
Bell does most of that now.
Yeah, back in the day, they had it oriented. Even if it wasn't an electrolytic, they had it oriented as to whether you wanted the foil end or the
same as the blue molded caps. They always have a line on them to show you.
But it was also oriented on the schematics. Like if you look at old schematics, and I have schematics from the 50s and the 40s, like they paid attention to that.
Yeah.
Well, they the actual symbol on the schematic, there's a curved end and a straight end. And that'll, on an electrolytic, you'll see a positive for the positive lead. And then if it's not electrolytic, it's still, that's, determining whether you have the foil end, which would be the curved end as your foil end, I think, right?
It's interesting that you've picked that up along the way, Marcus. At what point did you realize that was a thing?
Before I started selling pedals, so quite some time ago, but it was only by fluke, really. I saw this guy, there's a YouTube guy who sits in this kind of worshop like mate, but he's surrounded by scopes.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Parsons, whatever it is. It?
Might well have been.
Doctor.
He looks like a mad professor.
Yeah.
And I saw
the video.
And I saw it saying, "Oh, would you? The video is like, would you believe that even foil capacitors are polarized?" And I'm like,
I saw the same video.
Listen to this for a laugh, And then I was like, "Oh,
it's Dr. Paulson's lab, right?"
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
He goes through like what different types of caps are good for audio and good for other applications and what have you. It's surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. People see. I think when people say, "Oh, you can't hear the difference in caps," and
I beg to differ.
They're not listening for the right thing.
Exactly.
Okay, they're listening for, has it got more treble, or has it got more bass, or has it got more mids? And it's like, no, that's not the thing. It's the artifacts. It's the fluff around the note, around the signal, that it's either adding or not adding, that you can't EQ out. And that's the same with good or bad circuit design. It's the sonic artifacts that are produced by bad circuit design, inappropriate use of components, and bad biasing, create all this stuff around the note that you can't get rid of. Once it's there, and then it goes into a transistor and is amplified again. It's like,
and then someone will put a cap to ground to get rid of that noise, which then takes something away from the signal, and then you replace that by adding a bit of a boost in there, and then now add something else, and then it's a balancing act, and you end up with
ends up being like, what's happened to my guitar? The character of my guitar has completely disappeared because they've kind of just done this whole morphing thing with my tone.
Over electronically engineered, basically.
Yeah.
It was for mass production.
But you're right. I mean, but say now, here's the thing, right? You talk about mass production. I don't know whether you've seen. I've been doing some teardowns and demos of the Behringer.
Yeah, I've actually bought the
releases.
fuzz just to had to mod it after seeing your video, mate. And like,
They're insane.
I can make that sound good.
The tremolo, the vibe is optical. It's a proper. It's a voodoo vibe. It's got 4 Vactrols in it, and
your bass master ones. It's seen a transformer in it. It's like, what? How is that in there?
Yeah,
so
for 50 quid.
I know. Well,
yeah, we're good.
The cases alone are worth that.
Yeah, and they are. They're okay. They're all right. If you pick that up as your first kind of vibe or first fuzz or first well, I've got the Octavia ordered as well now.
Oh, yeah.
They're a good stab. They're like 70% there, and there's nothing wrong with them. There's much better on the market, but there isn't any better for that money.
Well, I think they're much to me like what the 1M4148 diodes and the TL072 op amp are. If there was less of them and they were rare, they'd be worth thousands, and everyone would be clambering over them.
Yeah,
because they're readily available and cheap. Don't want to know. The only thing I will say is people are getting really arsy about them copying old designs and putting them out for cheap. And I just think there's still a place for the one-offs or the exclusive high-end pedals because there's less of them. So therefore they're more desirable.
And they are still better. There's no way around the fact that somebody has tuned a circuit themselves by a human. It's the 80-20 rule. I always say, you can build 80% of the product in 20% of the time, but that last 20% of the product will take you 80% of the time.
Exactly.
And that's what you get.
Aaron's on.
We've been
mate. You've already missed us by
Aaron. Yeah, we've been talking about Aaron. You need to come on the show, mate. You need to come on here and help.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, help Joe out with pedal building. He's got no idea, mate.
Yeah, I literally don't know how to build pedals. Actually, if you watched any of my videos and read the comments, you'd think I really don't. It's fantastic.
I love it. It's funny what people like to say, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, they keep saying to me, you could build that on a PCB. But the concept of this video, mate, is building it on tagboard. So if I built it on a PCB, I wouldn't have a video, would I? It's mad.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I get the same of people saying, oh, that's going to fall apart. And, and it's like, well, don't kick it about then.
Yeah, like, don't want to just toss it in your gig bag and throw it on the back of the bus or anything. It's not built for
it's
that.
not what I'm doing. I mean, if people want something they can throw in a gig bag, then, we've got we
definitely need to sort this out. Oh, yeah. There you go.
3 of us.
That one's not falling apart, is it?
So that... I've tested the one that I made one. The first time I built this style was for Joey Landreth, and so I built one, and I thought because he wanted something, he wanted the Zoe that I was building, but I said, you know what, you're on and off airplanes, you're kicking stuff around, it's good touring. It's gonna have a hard life. So I came up with that idea. There's a guy called, if you don't follow them, follow a French builder called Accuphonics.
Accuphonics.
Absolutely incredible. Accuphonics, incredible work. And I got the idea from him. I talked to him. I said, look, is it all right if I pinch your ideas? And he was like, he was really gracious and helped me out with a couple of things. He uses a particular red Loctite product, and he pointed
in like a little red bottle, like a squeezy bottle type thing.
Yeah. So it's sort of like a Loctite, but it's kind of one up. You can kind of mark across stuff and just it's like really gluey and sticky.
Use it. We use that on board today. Stop fridge gas from coming out of places where it shouldn't be coming.
Yeah. Brilliant. So anyway, I got that idea from Accuphonics and built that, and I thought I really ought to check to see just how tall grade it is. So I went upstairs and chucked it out the first floor window onto some concrete. The enclosure cracked. I plugged it in, it still worked.
Oh, that's great.
You know,
Oh,
the enclosure was doing that, but the pedal still worked. So I was like, yeah, that's tall grade enough for me. So yeah.
You can't be that.
And they are.
Well, Joey Landriff's building pedals now, isn't he? Is he
Sorry?
started Joey Landriff doing pedals now himself?
I think he's working with amps. I think he's building an amp.
I think I think
straight in the deep end.
Yeah,
that Landriff amp is insane from Two Rock. I'm having dreams about that since going to that pedal show. I will never hear anything like that in my life again.
The Two Rocks are insane, aren't they? Yeah. It's mind you, the high watts are not far off it. You ought to. You're not. How far away from you from Doncaster? Is that?
I'm on the other end of the country. I'm Portsmouth, mate.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, I keep thinking you're Liverpool. Of course,
I'm not a Northerner anymore.
You're a traitor. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
In fact, funny story, right? We have a locker room in work that the students use as well, the trainees. And someone nicked my berry, my headgear out of my pocket. And I was like, I really am a Southerner now. People are stealing stuff off me. What's going on?
You're going all posh there.
I'm not a Scouser anymore. I'm not the one
to leave that there. I'll nick it. Yeah.
And now I'm getting stuff stolen off me. Like, officially, I'm a Southerner now. So
brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I'm miles past that.
I think
believe
he was,
Fuzz Cases is up that way, is he?
Sorry?
He was in the chat. Fuzz Cases.
Yes. He's in Doncaster. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So not far away from High Watt, actually. Every time I go up to High Watt and I'll post something on Instagram, he's like, why didn't you come and see me? And I'm like, I keep forgetting.
There's another true gentleman in the business, let me tell you.
He's nice great, absolutely great. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. He is in the chat.
Yeah, got loads of bits and pieces from him. So
the best fuzz face enclosures, the thick walled enclosures.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
Proper 66 type 2s. Yeah.
So I made the mistake. The first one I did was of buying a fuzz face and gutting it and then whatever. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And then I found his enclosures and bought one. I was like, what in the hell was I doing with this? You know, the newer ones.
Aluminium light thing. Yeah.
And you think maybe people don't notice the difference. I do.
Yeah, just when you pick them up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, actually, when you go to send it by DHL and you go, how much?
Yeah, exactly.
So much.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of interesting stuff he's doing with the enclosures. Really, really accurate.
And that's the bit that I like.
All the cast stuff are really based on actual original pedals. Yeah. So you know,
the fuzz bug, it took him a while to get that one, didn't it? To get an original and cloner. I need to do more of them. It's been a while since I've made a round fuzz face enclosure.
Yeah.
The thing is hard to sell because there's so many people that love them, but there's only a small amount of people that understand
actually buy them.
It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. But it's the fuzz face is a funny thing, isn't it? Just people are just so what's the word? They're just mad about fuzz faces, you know. And it is. I would say 90% of the people that like fuzz, it's either fuzz or muff. You know, and there's only a tiny percentage that like the really esoteric stuff. You know, I think the tone benders are starting to become a little bit more widespread, and I think we, as pedal builders, we get kind of bogged down in the weeds and think that all these things are popular because we love them all.
Yes,
exactly.
And that's why I try and keep going in a lot of the groups and keep active in the groups, because you get a sense of what people's knowledge is about what fuzzes are out there and how much they know about these things. And it's always surprising, or no, not surprising, but I'm always surprised at the fact that I think everybody knows what I know, about the history of fuzzes and things. And you kind of have to try not to take that for granted when you're thinking about what pedals to put out there, because anybody knows, we are planning on doing at some point this year some sort of a tube screamer, what Izzy is, and it'll probably be a bufferless one with a couple of interesting little things in it, but we know that will sell. And I don't want to make it because we know it will sell, and it's just another bloody tube screamer. But overdrives, there's only so many overdrives people really understand until you start getting into the people that are right in the weeds. You've got, your tube screamer, you've got your blues breaker, and your con. Really, they're the three they're the golden trifecta, aren't they, really?
Yeah. And if you step outside of that, people say, what's it modeled on? I love that question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What is it, a tube screamer? Is it a blues breaker, or is it a clon?
So I always try to explain to people when they say, what's this pedal modeled on? I was like, well, if you think about the Bassman and then imagine a Marshall, it couldn't be more different. But the Marshall is an exact clone of the Bassman, just with different parts. So or JTM 45, it is that, isn't it? So yes, the topology may be the same, but it's completely different.
I've found that I'll just tell people that it's a transistor-based fuzz or it's an IC-based overdrive. I won't go into it. It's like, where it's a hybrid circuit, where I've taken, this or that, rather than like get into it's exactly this, because
100%.
You get the confirmation bias in their head. If you say it's based off of this, then they're going to compare it to that and not hear what you're trying to go for. So.
But then it's hard to sell when people can't compare it to something.
Can't pigeonhole it.
Guitarists are all about history, aren't they? It's the only sort of product in a world where you want the older one.
I deal in a different market because I have people that don't want to sound like everyone else. So, I work in studios and work, as a musician and work as a producer sometimes. So we're looking for things that, you can't buy off the shelf. We don't want to sound like everybody. And so it's one of those things that's a selling point that I had, so I'm not trying to sound like everyone else. So I don't want to be compared to a tube screamer or a blues breaker or anything like that.
But it's hard to imagine a pedal that's come out and like from bigger brands, obviously, where we're dealing in small numbers here, but bigger brands where there hasn't been a recreation or a hail.
Absolutely. Definitely in the drive sector. I think that's obviously if you go into modulation and delays and things, that is an area of guitar pedals that seems to be so open to innovation. You look at what Maris and Chase Bliss and guys like that are doing, and it's like, what is the mood pedal all about?
The polyverbs.
All that stuff, and that's amazing. But I think there's almost like this dividing line between drives and that kind of experimental sector, because drives are drives, aren't they? Really, those people see them as drives are just drives. They don't understand that, again, the nuance of what we see. And I find drives fascinating. Just how, where, at what point in the circuit do you push one frequency so it does a certain thing in the next bit, and then it all gets compressed, and then you get this, and then it's like, okay, well, if you move that circuit, that peak here, I just
that's
I love it.
That's what keeps me going, is exactly what you said, like chasing all those different areas to manipulate it. And if I do this here, what does that do compared to if I do it here? And
I mean, that's just, like the Super J that I built, and Fuzz Dog do a kit of it now. It's I did last night. I stand corrected. It was a plasma. Oh mate.
Right. There's always one. I was definitely wrong. There is a new drive pedal that come out.
Yeah, I mean that plasma is crazy. Yeah,
insane.
It does skirt the line between everything. It covers. It's a fuzz,
fuzzy,
distortion.
David, 6 years waitlist. 6 years waitlist for the KOT. I love that. It just shows that there's still a need for
there's still I can't remember how long mine was. Where am I?
I've looked at a few on Reverb, but I think it could be a fake. So I don't want to buy
you don't want to buy a fake, I know, especially these days, and for those prices.
Nice. Yeah. Love it. Yeah, that's a great circuit. In fact, I've got one that I built just here that I was selling, but I'm like, I think I'll just put it on my board now.
I've got a few goodies. Yeah, the fakes. Who is it that does the fakes? Is it Demon? No, not. Is it Demon?
That's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's.
I really should get a few of their pedals into mod. Are they through all? Do we know? Or they're
all through all? Yeah, and it is a really small company. It's a guy similar to us in China who digs this shit.
Oh wow!
And but it's like there's still a little bit of like, oh well, you really shouldn't, because I mean there are some of them that are
the trade dress is just so similar.
Absolutely identical.
If they never did that, but they got noticed though. Is that the thing?
Well,
if they hadn't put their pedals mimicking other pedals,
that's
labeled them as their own thing, would they have been noticed as much?
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe
not. Yeah, but still,
but I've seen some teardown
385 drive. Has anyone tried one of them? I love the look of them. Obviously. It's the
projector.
I have not tried sound one of
those. Similar sort of thing where it's a projector amplifier.
I've got the real.
You know all about that, don't you?
Yeah, I've got one sitting next.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I think I might play
amplifiers.
Oh, what's he about to pull out? Oh, nice.
Oh, yes.
You used to do old hobo guitar stuff. So this is a runs off a 9-volt battery. It's got a Celestion 8-inch speaker in it.
Nice.
Ruby.
It's a noisy cricket, basically.
Yep.
John's talked about that.
I've built so many of those. I've got PC boards that I burned for that circuit, and I've made a lot of mods to it too. Did you find
that's my signal tester, basically.
They're great for that. Like I've got one. This is sort of a hybrid right here that I use, and I put it in a 1/2 of a boombox speaker set.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I love that.
Noisy cricket sounds so cracking little. Yeah.
It sounds a lot better than the right to sound, you know.
The Smoky amp was actually the old Smoky amp, which is like 6 components, something stupid like that.
Yeah, just it's a 386, a couple of caps, and a couple of resistors, and that's it.
Yeah. I did. It was my first proper paid build, where a guy had he still does actually. He's the guy that does all my plexi lids actually, all the clear lids that I have. He's got a vac forming company. He does a lot of sort of retail display stuff, and he's a musician. He's a harp player, and he wanted to. Then the Smoky amps, a lot of harp players use the Smoky amps, for some reason, just to kind of amplify a little bit. And he wanted to do a smoky amp in a vacuum formed kind of thing, because they go in, a lot of people put them in a cigarette packet.
Yeah.
And I built 50 of them for him, and that was my first proper like paid electronics job.
That's a great
decades
one,
ago. Yeah,
Hey, that got
that was
after the 30th.
yeah, I can't remember. I did it for absolute freaking peanuts as well.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
you know,
You always do on your first ones. You're like, why did I charge so little and it took so long?
Yeah.
Do you know what I found recently? There was a magazine interview in 2010, I think it was, for Guitar Jar, like an online magazine before it was a thing, of one of my pedals, the Demon. And I found it the other day online. I was just perusing through photographs, and I was selling it £30. That's how much my pedals cost back then. £30 each.
Crazy,
insane.
Yeah,
I couldn't even get the parts one for.
Yeah, somewhere out there.
There's a lot of people doing point-to-point stuff, and I can't. Obviously, I take an interest in what people are doing, especially when it's close to what I do. And I look on their reverb shops or on their websites. I'm like, what? How are you selling it that cheap?
Yeah.
And it must be. You can't be. You must be making £4 an hour.
But it's probably not their first job.
Yeah. That's the point.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
Back then, for me, I was literally getting the money to buy the components from Small Bird Electronics to build another. That was my goal. I'm telling them.
For my dad, he built all kinds of electronics projects and sometimes barely covered the cost of components or lost money, but just did it because he loved to do it, and somebody said, hey, can you fix this? And so
this is how you hone your craft, isn't it? So when you're buying, for example, one of your pedals, you're paying for the history of building up to where you can build them at that quality.
Absolutely. I mean, I still do freebies for people every now and again, and I think that's because we, like all of us, have come through the DIY. I consider myself as a DIYer. I always will be. It's something that's always kind of, it's where I came from, and there's a line of separation, really, literally at the beginning of the pandemic, where I sort of said to myself, I've been doing this for 20 odd years. I really should, piss or get off the pot, basically, and see if I can actually make a proper stab at this and do it properly and make no excuses about it being a business. Because I think there's always that point when you decide to actually do it properly, there's a guilt thing. Like, I know how much the components cost, and that's always the cry from a lot of people is, oh, well, that's only 14 pence worth of resistors. It's like, and there's a guy.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's a guy said that today on one of these things, and I did reply to him. I said, okay, well, that's fine. How much will you charge me to replicate it? No, sorry, how much? How much are you going to charge to replicate it for me? And he hasn't answered yet. So, and that's the point. It's
the time.
My time is free. Is it? Is that what you're saying?
It's the same thing. We talked about with the McDonald's attitude of the drive-through. You go, it's there, and the person doesn't deserve a tip because. Absolutely. But I mean, I think there's so many things that come into it as far as being a builder. As I said earlier on, people buy from people, and I think if there's lots of people that like to buy, Jeff Bezos's pedals. What were they? They were like 18 quid or something. Well, the Amazon Basics and things like that. And
and there's people that buy them and love them, and that's their thing.
That's their thing.
That's where, yeah, absolutely. For me, I've got a bit of ADHD. I like to call it ADHP. Really, it's a personality. It's not a disorder. It's just a personality. If stuff isn't in place and that I'm not feeling the vibe, then as a player, as a musician, I don't get into that zone, you know. And part of knowing everything is groovy is that, you know, even though it's hidden away, I've got that. I know up there, right? Okay, I'm good, you know, and it puts me in a place. And there's and people like that are my tribe, and you know, and that is what it is. And there's people that aren't my tribe, and they'll go and buy Jeff Bezos's pedals, and groovy. They've got their tribe as well, you know.
Yep.
I have this argument on every single YouTube video I post. Every single one. I have people saying you could make that for cheaper, put it on a PCB, it'd be smaller, you could have it smaller on your pedal board. And I have this every single time.
Use these transistors, they're only 1 pence a piece.
It costs too much, that sort of thing. And I'm like, yeah, but if I know it's there, it makes me feel good about the pedal. If I feel good about the pedal, I play better. My playing's terrible. So what is better? But you know, I play a little bit better, which means that it sounds better.
Yeah.
Ipso facto. And you know what I love? I love it when people say, Joe, it's all in your head. Like, well, I experienced life through my head. If in my head I was a millionaire and living a dream on Palm Island, somewhere in Dubai, great. I love life. I will take the blue pill, please, and I'll go back in the Matrix. That's amazing.
One of my guilty pleasures is a band called Snow Patrol. Okay, I love Snow Patrol.
I love Snow Patrol.
Yeah, and there's a song. I forget the name of the song, but there's a line here that says, "If it looks good and it feels good, it is good."
Yeah, that's off their second album, isn't it? It's on the one with, oh my god, the Final Straw, that album.
Is it Arms Open or Eyes Open? Something like that.
Oh no, that's the next album along. Yeah, I love Gary Lightboy. I think he's class.
Yeah, they're brilliant. We've seen them a couple of times, but that, like, if it looks good, it feels good, it is good. And that's exactly the whole thing about it being in your head. It's in your, of course, it's in your head.
Yeah. Well, your whole life's in your head.
Everything is in our head. Everything.
Yeah.
It's nothing that isn't.
It's that thing. I mean, I talk about my amp all the time because I bloody love it. It's on my desk now.
That's a proper score, that is, isn't it? Yeah.
I was so excited about this amp. I opened it up. No blue molded caps, full of Sprague orange drops. I was physically gutted. Like, I can't have this. It has to change. I can't do it. But that's the thing, you know, who gets a 64 Fender and is like, no, I'm not happy with it. It sounds amazing. No, I'm not happy with it. Just because now I know that I'm captured in there. Now I love it again. It's just whatever. If it works.
Well, and two, you found other things that if you hadn't addressed, I mean, you'd have been in a whole different kind of repair creek if you'd have fired that thing up and played it with those diodes messed up the way they were.
Well, it was sounding great, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't touch it, but I was expecting a lot more pushback because I was working on a vintage Fender than I actually got.
Oh, that's a lot more common to work on vintage Fender amps and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I was expecting people to say, qualified, or, you're messing with history and all this stuff. But especially as it was owned by someone, well, for me, famous, obviously being Who's tech for all them years. I mean, it come back from on tour with the Who. It was, But,
so I follow a YouTuber called Matt Armstrong who does up very high level crash damage cars. Okay, he's got like 4.5 million subscribers. The
boys in my office are absolutely enamored with him. It's all I get talked about. This guy who
love him.
He's about like Lamborghinis and stuff.
He's definitely worth a watch because the way he attacks and goes to these things is very much exactly what you're describing about taking a vintage Fender and getting it sorted.
Getting it back where it was.
He bought the Marcus Rashford's crash damage Mansory Rolls Royce, which had not even done 1,000 miles, and he crashed it, and it's like a 750,000 car, and you know, and he's put this thing back together again and driven it back over to Mansouri and gone, what do you think? You know, he does these road trips and things. but his attitude is just brilliant about the way he talks about things and the way he deals with the comments and all that sort of stuff. And he's just always positive. And it's like I say, it's just like you were saying about the amps. You know, there's always going to be people that get stuck in and go, oh, you can't do it like that, and this, that, and the other. And he's like, well, I am.
Yeah.
Well, the doubts are nothing that I didn't have myself. I mean, I always tell a story about the first amp I built. I built this brown panel Fender Deluxe from a kit. It was from Mojo Tone kits. And I built it all, double checked it. And before I plugged it in, I was like, I can't plug this in. It's 450 volts DC inside this. I'm going to kill myself. I was like stressing over it. It's on my dining room table because I was working on a dining room table at the time. My 5-year-old was just born. And my wife said to me, well, don't you do this in work? I said, well, sort of. She said, what's the voltages in work? Well, it's 450 volts AC and 750 volts DC. And she said, well, what's in the amp? 240 volts AC and 400 volts DC. And she was like, why are you scared then? I don't know, because I'm not in my uniform. I'm not sure. And then after that, I was like, get stuck in. I can hear people say, don't put your hands in there, don't do this, don't do that. Like,
put your eye out.
If you knew how bad it was out in the Gulf over an electrical panel, that has got enough in it to kill you, sweating inside the box.
Any moment it could arc.
But you're going to have a choice. No one's coming to save you. So I just think, let me say what qualifies you to work on these amps. 22 years of working on similar things. I don't know. What
disqualifies you? What disqualifies you?
I mean, the older I get, the more I realise that the experts are still just guessing.
Yeah,
they're
all just making up as they go along. This very, very. I mean, it's just from hard-earned experience,
and that's true in every field too. You got to remember that, like. Just because somebody has a lab coat and a clipboard doesn't mean that they're an expert. And if they tell you to turn the voltage, if they're telling you to turn that voltage up to lethal settings and push the button, for the test subject across the room, maybe you should think twice about it. Maybe he's not such an expert. You know the experiment to which I refer, I'm sure.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and it's like, is it 85% of people would go up to
100%, 100%.
100%.
No,
to me, if the Navy's going to trust me to work on multi-million-pound bits of kit, give me a manual that I've never seen in my life and say, you're a chief, just take all these people, put them in harm's way and fix it. We don't care how. I'm quite comfortable to work on an amplifier. I'm more than comfortable.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Still scare me shitless working on amplifiers. I built one and one full voltage one. And it took me a week to turn it on. To actually pack up the courage.
So on my last ship, there's a guy, Teddy Plant, he probably will never watch this, who started the brand Flagship Amplification. And I watched him build a Tweed Deluxe, and no word of a lie, he got four 440-volt zaps off the caps in one day, in one sitting.
Oh my God. And
separate times. He's like, I keep forgetting to discharge these damn caps. Like,
that'll stop your heart now.
Well,
that was my first build.
Oh,
the Tweed. Well, only build Tweed Deluxe. So
sweet.
It's nice cab.
Yeah,
it's a walnut and ash.
Oh, it's lovely. Have you seen the cabs Maybury Guitars has built before? Yeah.
Sorry, who? What?
Maybury Guitars. He's done a few cabs.
Maybury.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. That was built by a guy called Zach Drummond. He's an Irish luthier. And every now and again, we stopped building cabs a little while ago, actually, but I think that might have been one of the last ones he did. But he built really exotic wood Telecasters, like
nice.
Beautiful Telecasters. Yeah, Zach Drummond. It's definitely worth checking out.
I need a Tele actually to be fair.
Yeah. I'm a Tele man all my life. I mean, my only, my main, the longest, the guitar I've had the longest is my Tele, and I bought this new, and it was all black.
Oh yeah.
and it's never had a case. and it's only just recently been set up.
So what type? What is it?
It's it's just an American, whatever the American standard was back then.
Mhm.
So just a Fender, bog standard thing. And I used to I was in a band and had a residency when I was at uni at Manchester. We had this residency and we used to get paid in beer. and I would literally drag this guitar home. I'd walk home and I would be dragging it home because I could, and using it as a walking stick and all that sort of stuff. And that's literally what
probably used it. Probably used it. As
I feel
a
like
club
that
a
makes
couple
it
of times too.
Yeah,
self-defense. If it got out of hand at the pub,
exactly.
you could always clock
kebab
somebody
table.
Yeah. And then
but it makes it worth more, I think, sentimentally.
Yeah. Off my trolley one day, I thought, do you know what? That belt sander and that Telecaster, they look like they're a match made in heaven. Yeah.
Love it.
So, yeah.
I've slimmed down all my guitars lately. I've only got 3 now. I've cut the fat of everything. I sold or give away, I don't know, 5 guitars maybe. Just don't need them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just got all the food groups here now.
Well, I did my Joey Landreth thing, so I really wanted a gold top with a wraparound.
Nice.
A mate of mine builds guitars, so he built me this.
There's mine. Yeah.
And now I just don't need other guitars.
I think the closest thing to that
true. I mean, I've really just got them for just so that I can say, right, if I need to do a demo, I've got my SG.
The closest thing I've gotten to that.
So,
nothing to beat your Strat, mate. That's a beast.
This one.
This is the Tysco from '64.
Oh, okay.
Japanese,
I've got Tysco.
Yeah. The Japanese crazy guitars.
Well, who is it that made the gold foils famous?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are the craptacular pickups that you hear on a lot of indie recordings.
Oh, look at that.
That's the Tysco.
Oh yeah, I love those. Yeah, I've refretted and
actually,
a lot of those for artists.
It's branded as a Silvertone.
Yeah,
but it's
Tysco. That's probably 1970s. That's probably Taiwan, or not Taiwan, but Korea.
Is it hollow?
Yeah, I've seen other. I mean, it came with proper silver foils in it.
Okay.
Originally,
somebody's put P90s in it. Okay.
Yeah, these are Sun Bear P90s. I've put in that.
Oh, sweet.
Funny enough, all my guitars have Sun Bears too.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, Metelli's got Sun Bears in it as well.
Actually, that's a lot. My Strat, I went for the old Chris Book set of Strat pickups from Radio Shack. That too.
But I've repurposed one of the pickups out of it.
Oh, nice.
In this. So
are they like weaker sounding? Are they? Is that why?
Really weak, but they sound brilliant through fuzzies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether you've heard of a Strat called a Duosonic.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, not Duosonic.
Supersonic.
They call it a rattle can. Oh God, I can't remember. Anyway, it's got this butterfly. I've copied this butterfly scratch plate off it.
Oh, okay.
It's basically a Strat that they turn into an SG and a Stocktail SG.
Okay.
Looks very 80s.
Stocktail on this one. Eh?
Looks very 80s. Like
no, they're very 60s. I'll have to find a rattle can. Stratasonic, I think.
Oh, the Stratasonics. Yeah. I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Hang on, 2 humbuckers.
Yeah, and they did a single pickup one as well. Sonic.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, and if you Google Stratasonic rattle can, I think is the rattle can images. We'll get there in a minute. Yeah, that's what I copied. So
sweet.
And they're and this is a is an encore. Remember the
Oh, yeah.
encore? Really
I
cheap
remember those.
encore.
Yep.
But the early ones have got baseball bat necks.
Yeah,
Really nice necks. Because up
I remember
until
Monty's Guitars doing like an upgrade on one or something for the video.
yeah. Well, I'm going to take
He
this
put it
one to
up,
him to get him to do the proper job on. Because up until really probably 10 or 15 years ago, necks were still hand carves everywhere. There wasn't CNC machines that could make a neck. So you'd find that in all these factories there'd be 1 in 10 people that probably really, really knew what they were doing. And if you were lucky, you get a good one.
You'd get a good one.
Yep.
Yep.
What type of neck do you like? Do you like a big neck? Yeah, I'm saying.
Yeah.
I got little ones as well, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, for me, it depends on the type
hanger.
of guitar too. Like,
yeah,
if I'm playing a Strat or a Tele, I like a really thick neck, almost like a soft V, like with a nice thickness. And then, if I'm playing an SG though, I like a really thin neck. I don't like a chunky
the
neck
SG
on an
is quite
SG.
thin. Yeah. I think that's a balance thing as much as anything because they do.
Well, and
if they've got a heavier neck,
just the style I'm going to play on, and I'm going to be playing a whole different style on an SG than if I'm playing a Strat or a Tele.
I do play lighter strings on the SG, which is weird.
Exactly. Yeah,
I can't get on with heavy strings on an SG. I don't feel like it's an SG.
About as heavy as I'll go on an SG is like a 10.
Yeah,
and like for Strats, I'll go all the way up to 12s sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm 10s and 11s. Most of the time, I think I've got 11s on, maybe 12s on the acoustics, but that's about it. But
10s on everything for me for simplicity.
Yeah,
to be honest, I don't play that much anymore. If I've got time to play, generally I'm building a pedal.
Yeah, same, absolutely the same. Yeah, I don't play for pleasure very much. Well, actually, interestingly enough, I've just contacted my the guy that used to play drums with me. We had a little practice in a few months ago, and we're going to start doing some stuff again in here because it's big enough in here to rehearse. I've got enough amps in here really to get away with it.
Well, I've just had a similar thing. One of my shipmates is based out in Bahrain. He started playing bass, and he's like, "We need to get together for a jam sort of thing." And I was like, "Yeah, you send me through a list of songs you want me to learn." Thinking I'm going to learn maybe 3/4 Oasis songs, something like that. And he sent me a video of him playing bass, and I was like, "Holy shit, he's better than me. I can't play like that. He's going to blow me away." So
it's a long way to go for a rehearsal, though.
It does 4 months out there and 4 months back.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Like a deployment thing. So he's like, when I get back, we'll be able to jam and all this. And I'm thinking, I've got that much time left now to actually pick it up again. So I think what I need to do is not buy the TC.
I'm getting more into playing acoustic actually these days. I play my acoustic for pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go in and I'll sit and play. But as far as playing loud, I mean, I say that when I've done a batch of pedals, I've got 10 pedals to test. Generally, I'll go through them all, and the last one I'll just like, right, okay, let's have a little bit to give it a get it up to 11, especially the high watt.
I think that's what killed my playing actual guitar is because on board I could go anywhere in a ship, which is quite isolated, turn it up loud, and no one's coming to tell the chief to turn his amp down. No one. So it's great. Yeah. But here, I've like my wife who's clearly in charge, and so I can't turn it up.
The chief is going to tell you to turn your amp down.
Do you know what I mean?
So it's
a completely different dynamic. I can't turn them up, and kind of loses the thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got 100 houses are about 100 feet that way. This is all really well insulated. There's garage that side, big garden that side, massive wall and alleyway that side. So I'm like,
got a nice little insulated spot.
I tell them I sometimes play loud guitar, and the neighbour on this side was like, "Oh, good. Does that mean I can play my guitar as well?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can." Yeah, so like, okay,
that's brilliant.
So it's all good. So I can be as loud as I like.
One of the things too, on your work, like I'm a big fan of art in general, and I'm steeped in car culture, like aircraft culture and all that kind of stuff. Like, when you look at the inside of one of your pedals, it reminds me, especially of your high end stuff that you put the plexi cases on of like a show car. Because I've been to so many car shows where you see that one-off car that was built for the show, and it's just like a work of art, but it's a work of functional art.
I'm a big muscle car fan, to be honest.
Yeah, same here. Like I put like racing stripes on all kinds of stuff, competition stripes on everything.
Yeah, so I
like
mean,
all my finishes, I keep that in my mind. So when I saw your enclosures and your point to point, I'm like, this is what I would think of a custom car builder would build as a guitar effects pedal.
Yeah, it's a chrome plated big block Chevy in a rusty, in a rusty car.
Fireworks went off behind me suddenly.
yeah. That is literally, an analogy that I've used more than once. In that, it's like a rat rod. So you've got this kind of crusty enclosure, not that crusty, but and then it all goes off inside. So
that's what this is.
Absolutely,
this is a harmonic percolator.
Brilliant.
I put it in like a really heavy duty aluminum case that had been for an RF frequency detector. And
oh wow,
so I mean, it looks scientific, mad scientific. So
I'm just I've got when I pick up vintage pedals, I try and find what's happened there.
So this is what I love.
That's actually this pedal.
Yeah. What I like more than anything, and what most people probably don't look at, is this is a work of art, and you look in and you go, look at all these nice yellow caps, and it's laid out lovely. What I do is zoom in and look at the solder joints, and each one of them is like a little work of art. That's what I like. And it sounds really geeky to do that, but if you zoom in on one of my pedals, you go, well, that's a little bit sloppy, but it's on a nice tag board, okay. But some of it's almost like you could set like a protractor against the angles of the slopes on the solder joints. Do you know?
Yeah, I've got a good eye.
He's got a really good technique too. Like
I can eyeball stuff. As far as an angle is concerned, none of these are measured angles.
That's
it's all done by eye. Yeah, it's all done by eye.
So do you build them outside the case and then slot them in and wire them up?
So
build in place.
Literally, you can see. Yeah, you can see. I've started putting the. It's hard to get the light on them, but they're all built in place. There's only one that I build outside of the pedal, and that is the red dot sound, because that's just a
nightmare otherwise.
It's a nightmare, full stop, to be absolutely honest. Those pedals.
Do you build it in stages and then assemble it all together inside, like stack it together?
What I'll do
on the red dot, I mean.
So I don't know whether you'll be able to see this.
2 seconds, mate. We'll be able to see it now.
So basically, they're all there. So because every batch is slightly different, just because whatever mood I'm in that week. But what I like to do is I have this, all of them set up in a row, so that although the batch is slightly different, each one will be exactly the same. So I know that the ground, when I put the ground bar, when it comes down from the DC jack and the right angle and it goes across, I know that each one that will go across in exactly the same place.
That makes sense.
Whereas the next batch, they might go in 5 mil further down. So like I say, I'll make a batch of 10. I usually make them in 10s.
That's a really good number to do it in too. I've found that same process works for me.
So that batch should always be almost identical. And then when I make another batch, although it'll be the same circuit, I might be like, I might put a curve on that angle in these ones, and stuff like that, just depending on what mood I'm in, really. Same as the color choices for the insides of the pedals. I've got a kind of stock color, which is a lime green, which I do some in. But every now and again, I've been really getting into my hammered finish at the moment. So a lot of them have been hammered gold and hammered blue and all that sort of stuff. And so it's my little bit of artistic license, if you like.
Yeah, well, that's cool because then you can like track it as like, well, this is his phase here, and this was his phase.
Yeah.
It's like,
There was a lot of orange last year. There's a lot of
so,
hammer gold this year. You know.
And
Did you ever look back through your designs and just go, oh, do you remember when I used to do it like that? And you know, like sort of work backwards. I do that all the time.
Yeah. Well, I've still got a few of them. I mean, so that is, so we've got the original layout of the Black Hat Sound there.
Oh, sweet.
That's the one I originally found. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this. So this one is the original. And that is what I'm building now.
They almost look like completely different
circuits. Yeah.
Did you change it for the top mounted jacks? Is that why?
Yeah, that's why I changed. Yeah, because I wanted to go on to.
I did wonder that when you said.
Yeah, because they're you know, obviously they're a lot smaller, and also when I started out, I didn't have a lot of money. These enclosures were a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So these are the Edison enclosures, which are owned by Hammond, and then I've obviously migrated to the Hammond enclosures, which are a little bit bigger, a little bit more
nicer
kind
to
of
work on.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So yeah, and it meant I could go to the top mounted jacks as well, which I've always liked. And they're easy. They are easier to build because that's, you know, that's quite crowded in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm Wadey's finally made it. I did wonder where you was, mate. He likes to listen on his way home.
Not working today down at Brother's house.
He's got a Black Hat Sound fuzz, so get in.
Oh,
yeah, he's a good guy, a beast of a fuss. Yeah. I'm glad your brother's doing well, man. Good to hear. So yeah, that's the Black Hat Sound. It's but all the pedals are. So there is going to be this year. There's going to be another facelift as well. So I'm going from this from that to well, you're all already started using the NW pedal parts. So I've got a big shipment of her stuff coming over.
Mm-hmm.
It etches really well.
Yeah, your etching is beautiful.
They really went nicely made enclosures as well, aren't they?
They're brilliant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Izzy's gonna, when obviously we've got a bunch of enclosures already to use up. But once Izzy's gone through all the ones that we've got, we're going to be.
That's one of my latest.
Yeah, that's a 125 sloped 125B, isn't it? Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah, they're great. So that'll be what these are replaced with. I'll be going into those, but I'm going to be doing a Zoe. So I'm going to do a blue. That's going to be blue hammer finish. I'm going to put a Zoe in those. I'm going to do 10 of those in about 8 or 10 weeks time. So
I'm kind of glad I'm kind of glad that I didn't have everything go through with the sale and I hadn't bought a whole bunch of like enclosures that I'd be disappointed in now. Because now that I'm seeing like what you guys are getting a hold of, I'm like, there's so many other custom enclosure makers that I want to explore. Because you know,
John, I'll put you in touch with the guy who sells these ones. He's very good. Or Fuzz Cases UK. If you want something,
if you want cast stuff,
you can't. Them. But these two enclosures,
especially because a lot of my stuff is a one-off, and I'll have a concept behind it, so the enclosure is going to be part of like the whole story behind it too. So and also I have ideas for custom enclosures I want to make, and if I find people that will, you know, do it at a price that, you know, is affordable for me, then
it's easier than you think if you find somebody willing, a fabricator willing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you look at. Do you know Frederick Effects?
Yeah, I've done a few shows of him.
Yep.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I loved him.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's one of the names that pops into my head for sure.
Yeah, I think a Hackney Guitar Show, a little pop-up show. That Jim.
Well, he's the guy that makes his enclosures is in the same town as him. Mm-hmm. They have a really backwards and forwards sort of relationship with doing this.
He does like these mini wedge enclosures. They're like
really cool.
You would normally imagine, but smaller. They're fantastic.
Yeah. And he does some great circuits as well.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's like dual clon, like, so it's 2 clons in one pedal. That's insane.
Yeah, he's got. I don't know where he gets his. He gets some really, really cool Telefunken transistors as well. He gets some really great old German transistors. I don't know whether he's got contacts out in Germany, but he's got a lot. A lot of his stuff is very German and Eastern Bloc kind of influenced. Yeah, but yeah, I love his stuff. I need to buy. I've got a few bits of his, but I need to get more.
I'm glad you brought up transistors because I've been dying to know how you choose your transistors, not what you choose, but how do you go about what if you're looking online, looking for a new design, new pedal, and you're looking for transistors. How do you come to the conclusion of which ones you're going to use? Is it more the fact of what's available, or mind what?
Well, sometimes I've got. I mean, we've all got a kind of this fantasy kind of football squad in our head, haven't we? Of transistors that we the lineup that we want. And if I've got loads of eBay alerts set up for like all these different transistors. So they'll come in and they'll pop up and they'll be, most of the time there's tiny amounts, and I won't really, to be honest, these days I'm not really interested in buying 50 of something because I got burnt with the Black Hat Sounds.
I remember this.
I didn't really, when it all started, I probably had 100 or less of the transistors. Out of that, I got 50 maybe. And I sold them all in weeks. And I'm like, oh shit, scrabbling around trying to find them. And it took me 6 or 8 months to find somebody that had a bunch of these ME 4003s.
Yeah.
And I said, how many have you got? And he said, I've got 2 kilograms of them. He didn't even tell me how many.
I just told you the weight.
Yeah,
I'll take him.
I've got 5 pounds
exactly.
I've got 5 pounds.
Yeah. I've got So I was like, yeah, send me a bill. Well, not quite that, but
Yeah.
And that's what I do now. And a couple of times I've been caught out. I've got about 60 left of these beautiful Motorola BC 174Bs.
Oh yeah,
the really early ones with the big silver typeface on them. And there's a place in Leicester which is probably about 30 miles away. It came up on eBay, and I messaged her. I said, how many have you got? She said, we've got 3,700. And I said, right, okay, I'll buy 100 and test them. So I got them, went through them, they checked out perfectly, really excited, posted on Instagram, look at these, rah, rah, rah.
And then
That was a mistake.
Spoke to the next day, said, right, I'll take those. She said, oh no, they've gone, a bloke in Belgium's bought them yesterday.
all of them, probably.
All of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, now I'm not going to feel guilty about buying all the stock. Because there was a part of me going, got to leave some for everybody else. It's not really fair. The DIY guy in me was going, and not the businessman, was saying, no, that's not fair. But the businessman is now gone, well, you can see up there, can't you? I mean, I've got, am I going to flex? I'm going to flex.
You have to, I feel like.
Yeah. So,
that's a good start.
Yeah,
that's a good start.
That's a good start.
So we've got. So that one hasn't been opened since 1978.
Oh, good.
So that's their C101R. So they're like a BC 108 really. They're red dot, so they're a certain gain, and these are really well graded. So we've got the red dots, which are about 210 to 220, almost religiously. These are the yellow dots. They're about 180. It just, and that. So to get back to your question, I kind of once you've got enough transistors, you can kind of mix and match and find ones that work in a circuit. Other times, very specifically, like for the Zoe, I wanted to find some Sprague. I had this thing, I want to put Spragues in them. I don't really know why. I went down this rabbit hole of buying a lot of Spragues. And now I've got a lot of Spragues. And the ones that work in the Zoe.
I've got a question for both of you and the chat massively on this subject. Is it Sprague or Sprague?
It's
I need to know.
It's both.
How can it be both?
Because
I've had so many answers.
Because let me tell you why. Because you have different regional accents in America, just like you have in England. And we have people who say the word vague, and then we have the people who say vague.
Yeah, so but what do the actual companies say?
This is true.
That's the thing. You're going to hear it referred to by both, though, just because.
I know that's what confuses me.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm on the French side.
Out,
there we go.
If it's on the German side, is it Sprague? If it's on the French side, is it Sprague?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, adding straight in there was Sprague.
Sprague.
Well, I mean, a Canadian, you're going to know all about French, aren't you? So I'll take that as a
it always bugs me on that one, the Sprague or Sprague. I mess it up all the time. I'm going Sprague.
But so I mean that led me to the weird thing is I've got thousands of Sprague. These are great, actually. I got them from somebody who cleared out one of the Wurlitzer factory.
Oh yeah.
And grabbed all their, because they had all the OEM stuff, so it's not badged up, so the transistors aren't labeled as the Sprague catalog number. They're labeled as an OEM number for part number for Wurlitzer.
Same as the Bumblebee caps, same as the Black Beauties, but not labeled because they were for a manufacturer.
A lot of different house brands.
Yeah, exactly.
They were for a specific manufacturer. They bought them in the tens of thousands at a time, so they had a house number, and that's what they get part number this, put in position this, and
I mean back then production environments were so variable that basically what they would do is they'd press the button on transistors and go, right, let's get these done as quickly as possible. And they'd make millions of the fuckers. And they'd hope that they'd all be within a certain parameter, because the relative humidity, the air pressure, all of those things that will affect the wafer, and they'll be fairly similar and they'll all grade about the same. Now, this is what I like about vintage transistors versus modern transistors, because modern transistors, all the parameters, they're like 5% either side of all the parameters. Whereas if I've got these things that are made for Wurlitzer, they were made in 1969. And while all the parameters are the same for each one, they might be like all over the place from where the norm is. So they kind of have this esoteric feel to them and sound, and they do a different thing to what modern transistors do, which are a little bit sterile in some circuits.
In some senses, they especially if the circuit takes advantage of the artifacts like you're talking about, the chaos that exists in the imperfections, and without that you're just like you're missing something, and it's hard to tell what.
It's the difference between something that's reproducible. You can, if you buy modern transistors, you can put the same cap in, the same transistor, same bias resistor over and over and over and over, or you can buy something unusual and have to use your ears and make it fit.
Well, there is that, but also because I bought batches and batches of graded stuff. Also, that's why I'll buy 100 and see if they're graded or not, because you can tell the first 10 you've tested, you'll know whether they've been graded or not, because they're all coming in really similar. So I've got sets of stuff that I can rely on to put in these circuits, but still sound weird, because you might find that the forward voltage is slightly different, but it's different on all of them.
So you can tweak the design to fit them.
Or the cutoff frequencies are slightly lower or higher, as in those ones that as opposed to something that I buy from Rapid today. So Yeah, I like that. I think that's
well,
that.
I think we've got the definitive answer here by my mail. Wrong one. My mistake. He lived near the factories as a kid in the US, and it was pronounced Sprague.
Sprague.
Sprague,
That's what
yeah.
I grew up with, Sprague. And
There you go.
I think
It's a really interesting
up in the
story, the
upper
history
Midwest,
of Sprague, actually.
Yeah. In the
Is
upper
it?
Midwest and like in Canada, it's Sprague, because that's where they say they say vag instead of vague up there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I need to do some digging on this history, because I've become obsessed with history of everything lately. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I need to have a look at that. If you could have any single transistor, not for monetary value, for sound, to go in, say, one silicon and one germanium, what would you choose? Not for the specific. If you could just pick two, like your favorite silicon, your favorite germanium, but not
GE would be NKT 773s.
Okay.
Can't get them now. They're
the NPN ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're really low leakage. Especially you can get a white dot, which is like a military spec one, and they're kind of they're close to being the NPN version of the 275.
I've got a few of them.
Yeah. I've got about 15 sets.
I haven't got that many.
Yeah. I bought some, and I really liked them. I thought, I'm not into GE, and Langrex had quite a few in stock. There's another guy called Peter Hind whose website has disappeared now.
So that was Vintage Vintage Components.
Vintage Electronics. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I used to buy all my stuff from. He's gone.
I don't know what's happened to his stock.
About a year ago, he just went.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was he really old or something? Was he? Or
I don't know.
So a lot of those guys are like they're old radio hobbyists and stuff.
Analog Mike asked me for he met for some reason someone passed my information to him, God himself, as far as vintage guitar pedals are, and he said, "Do you know any sources?" And I put him onto Heinz, the vintage electronic components website. But it disappeared shortly after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what about silicon?
Silicon. I love Motorola. They're really consistent.
Also in a lot of organs, really, the Motorola ones I've found.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, anything by ME. If I'm absolutely honest, I think I like Motorola, but ME, I think the Glob tops. I tell you what, I really do like that I'm running really low on is the black and white ceramic package. The TO 106 BC 108s. I've got about 50 of them left. So which I actually
sent me 2 of them randomly.
I got some from Goliath. He had a stock of them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but he's a nice guy as well.
He's a lovely guy. Yeah. I've got
supposed to be coming on the podcast. He keeps threatening, but
get money. He's good fun.
Oh, he's class. I did a Birmingham guitar show with him last night. I missed him for drinks though, actually, enough, because I was knackered. But
it's hard. I've done my fair share of trade shows in the past, working for the corporate man. Never again. Never again. Yeah. It's just
I love it.
Just
being the forward facing, talk to people, that sort of thing. That's what I'm built for. It reminds me of being back on board a ship when I'm standing in front of a group of people talking. I miss that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go and walk round. I'll literally the Birmingham show. I'll be there both days walking around. Well, last year I was there. It was both days. And I might have to wear dark glasses this time though, because it was last year was a little bit of a surprise when utter strangers. I felt a bit of a rock star, to be honest. People coming up and going, "Are you Markus Reeves?" I'm like, "Fucking hell, yeah, I am."
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think that's amazing.
It is quite interesting.
What'll get disappointing, Marcus, is when you go back and then they're like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, wait,
yeah.
I'm Markus Reeves. They're like, who?
Yeah. Do you know who I am?
Exactly. You gotta wait for
have
the
to play.
part.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just love the show. I love the whole atmosphere. I tell you what else is good: the Brighton Guitar Show. If you ever get a chance to do that one, brilliant.
Right.
Probably the best show outside of Birmingham that I've been to.
I've been to a lot of the regional ones, and I mean, even the London Guitar Show, I felt that
stopped doing it. Just too. It's cramped. There's no
really
room.
cramped, and just didn't get a vibe from it. Just because the thing with Birmingham is you've got the big names as well as guys like
the small builders,
yourself, you know. And I think that's what really brings it. Whereas you go to the regional shows and it's just all small producers, which is really cool. But you know, you've got to have Marshall, you've got to have Orange, you've got to have,
I agree.
You know,
I want to get round a big stand and have a look. You know, I don't want to see just. But then the vice versa, I don't want to just see established brands either. So I like.
I mean, you know, last year was when I started my relationship with Highwatt. And it's you know, it was just literally a chance that I was there, and I walked up to the stand, and Tom was there, and he's one of the guys from Highwatt, but it was only there dropping some stuff off because he wasn't actually staffing the stand. And or something like that. Anyway, I can't quite remember what the title was, but anyway, and he was like, "Oh, I really follow you. I really like what you're doing." He introduced me to the rest, to Arvo and all the other guys. They were like, "Come up, you know, and have a look around and play through a 200-watt super leads."
Like, yes, please.
Honestly,
what did that sound like?
Fucking terrifying, absolutely terrifying
in a good way.
So loud. So but that was good. And then so we went through some amps. I took some of my pedals up, so we had like the little 10-watt, the T10 and the custom 100, I think, or the custom 50, and then we had the T40 and T20. And it was like the Three Bears, you know. I played put the fuzz through this little one. I was like, nah, that's too squishy. It's too no. The big one, I was like, no, that's scary. No. The T40 was just like everything.
Just right.
There was a sympathy between the two. Yeah, the fuzz hit the preamp and it kind of did its thing, but the amp was also doing its thing as well. And it was the sort of volumes that I was used to playing to. So yeah, it's great. So it's down there. Great level.
Is that a 212 cab? Is it?
It's a 212. I'm not going to lift it up because it's heavy. It's a 212 40-watt with a 20-watt attenuator on the back, 2 channels, clean and dirty, with a and it's got a mid. So it's got a bass, middle, and treble, but the mid has got a pull on it, which actually gives it a mid hump, so it flattens the treble and the bass a little bit and pushes the mids. So it's like a synergy, So it's like it gives it a slight tube screamery thing.
So does it? Really, does that like disconnect the tone control or something?
I don't know how it works, to be honest. I think it's just a slightly different tone circuit. So you pull the mids, it's got a push pull mids, and they pull it out, and it just gives it this little tube screamer.
Nice.
And crazy, your generosity is insane. That's like our second ever super chat. No one needs the super chat, by the way. It's just there.
I don't know. Have you seen our streaming bills yet? I mean,
fair one. The bills are costing me a lot more than this.
So
yeah.
Maybe more people need to super chat.
StreamYard costs £30 for the paid version, so you can have guests stream to their own channels and put your own design. You know, like the Pedal Dive podcast and the design.
Okay.
And for the longest time, we were using the free one at first, and I was just like, feels a little bit unprofessional. So I just pay for the subscription. I think so far we've made like £8 in monetization over like.
We're still growing and young though. We'll get there.
I would pay YouTube to do this, so if they're going to pay me pence, then fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm almost. My YouTube is about. I think I've got about 80 hours left to get until I get monetization.
So you've got like thousands of followers on subscribers, hasn't you? Like,
yeah, but I'm really lazy with it. I've been this last year because I've been just heads down making pedals. It's the way I work. I can't really. If I've got orders, I'm like. People waiting for their pedals, and there's nothing else in my world.
Nothing else. So you're just focused on that.
Yeah, and I can. My Instagram content, I've got down so easy to make as I'm building pedals. That's fine. I can manage Instagram, but YouTube is a very different animal.
It's a different animal.
Yeah, from what I'm used to. So. It does take time, and I've been getting there slowly, but so I've been lazy this last year or so because I've got some fairly heavy hitting, like my Fuzz Face. I've got a couple of like Fuzz Face 101 thing that I did that's got I think I've got about 20,000 views or something like that. So I've picked up. I mean, it's still small change compared to what a lot of people get, but it's it's a nice step, and.
It's weird, isn't it? Because I think round about April last year, I decided, right, I'm doing this properly. I'm going to start putting some time into it.
So well, though, man. Because I mean,
in fact, you were telling me about editing and what to use and what cameras to buy and stuff. Because I was like, I ain't got a clue. What do I know about filming?
And I mean, I think I'm just short of 3,000 followers, and that's over 5 years. So you've got 2,300, something like that, over a year. That's pretty good.
But it's a year of once a week posting.
And two,
well, that's what you got to do, though. That's what you got to do.
And also the little things like every time he posts a video, I immediately go hit like, and then I hit the share button. Then I'll copy the link, and I'll go share it across a whole bunch of platforms. And it's a strategy that I've used for other things. I mean, this is not my first time building something from the ground. So I told him we were gonna be here in a very short amount of time. He was like, "Get out, mate." And I was like, "You just wait and see."
My goal was 5 years to get Brian Wampler on the show within 5 years. We kind of hit that now, or potentially anyway. That'll be
it's very cool. I mean, I'm trying to go for it a little bit this year, but we'll see.
You have a very distinct style on your videos. It's like I had to, when I first started, I had to stop myself from copying you because I've watched so much of your content that it become you and Pedal Porn, Chris. Like I was like, when I was editing, I was doing like the swipe, and then I was like, I can't. That's I'm copying it. Let's make my own.
Make your own version.
Because it's like little short sound bites, and it's very snappy.
It's very. I mean, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but it's really nice and very flattering to see. People have started doing Monday updates. There's 3 or 4 channels that have started doing Monday updates of everything, and that's like, that's if I've added anything to that, then it makes me happy to see that people are talking to their customers. And because that's a really, really healthy thing to do, and a bit of transparency and a bit of honesty backwards and forwards to people. But
also in a purely business sense, it's such a smart move because, I mean, it's like 1,000 hours they say, and if someone's watching for 1,000 hours, then he trusts you, and you're just building that relationship.
And I mean,
I guess so. I mean, it's funny. People say to me, "Oh, you're such a savvy marketer," and I'm like, I'm just following my nose. I'm just doing what I want to do. I'm just doing absolute. Oh, that's a cool idea. I'm going to do that today. And it's literally, it's not. I don't really work much more than a week ahead. And if I'm a week ahead, I've really had to think about it. We had this conversation before, didn't we? I plan my pedal drops quarterly because I think that's really important for people to know because they're not 19 quid pedals, so people have to
people can save up for them.
People have to know,
and you're doing a drop in a month, I think, which makes it I can't live like that. If someone orders a custom pedal, like custom artwork or something, I've got to build it post payment. It ruins my life. I hate it. It's so weird to say, but I procrastinate on a circuit. Is it what they want? I'll go back through and listen to everything they've ever posted on Instagram. Well, actually, I can see like to use the volume. So now we've got to make sure it cleans up, or you uses this pedal. Have I got something similar that it works with? And then I think I could have built 12 pedals now. I'm really losing money on this one.
Yeah.
Well,
whereas
it's
going back to what you're saying about like your Monday Minute and everything.
Yeah.
Like it goes back to what you said about they're not just buying a Reeves Electro pedal, they're buying a pedal from Markus Reeves, builder and proprietor and artist behind Reeves
and from my
Electro
daughter,
pedals.
You know?
Funny enough. How's that, by the way? How are you getting on with that now? I know I've asked this in the past, but now that like things are settled and she's selling out too.
It's a joy every time I think about it, to be honest. You know, there's nothing as a father, it's what we do this for. It's literally what we do this for. It's for your kids, you know. So to actually be the direct conduit for my youngest daughter to be getting a life is mind blowing. Really, you know, she's it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. She's moved out of the little flat she had. She's moved in with a bunch of friends in a big farmhouse out in the country. They're all creatives. So a tattoo artist and a drawing artist, a political podcaster, a guy that runs a print magazine, and one of their friends is about to come back from uni in June. Is going to join them as well. So
awesome.
And it's this beautiful farmhouse as well. And so and you know, that's literally as a result of you know what we're doing. So yeah, it's like a dream.
It's living the dream. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Building something's living a dream, but then pulling in your kids to it too. That's unbelievable.
Well, it's
and she took to it like absolutely like a duck to. It was actually really annoying, the fact that it had taken me, you know, however long to learn. And yeah, fair enough. I knew the gear to use, I knew the solder to use, I knew the techniques that I could pass on, so she didn't have to fall in the dirt every time to learn these things.
Yeah.
But at the same point, literally in an afternoon, I'd gone, that's the soldering iron, that's the hot end, that's the cold end, that's how you hold it. Yeah. By the end of the afternoon, she'd built a fuzz dog kit with me saying, yeah, now solder that bit. Now
had she watched you work before? Like
She
already had that visual reinforcement of thousands of hours of watching you go, damn it, what did I do wrong? I mean, you know, I used to because I watched my dad growing up. I used to think the proper way to drive nails was to go tap, 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 damn it, tap, 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 damn it. That's what he did all the time.
That's really interesting, because my dad was a man who was absolutely fearless. He had no fear about things that were broken.
Same here.
He'd fix stuff. He built houses. He renovated a farmhouse in France. He dug a swimming pool. He renovated cars. He was a chef. You know, it was like there was no fear of, you know, it was like if you got two arms, 5 digits, and you can do it. You know, your eyes are working. You can do. If it was made, you can fix it.
Exactly. Somebody made it.
And
what makes that impressive is the fact that they didn't have YouTube. I can do all that now because I can watch hours of YouTube and I can learn how to do something. But they did it by doing it and learning. And
absolutely. I can remember him. We had a dishwasher that we had for decades, and regularly, probably once every 18 months, he'd have it apart and would be fixing it. But it worked perfectly well because he just. And the other thing is, these days, a lot of stuff isn't quite so easily fixable. Back then, it was
The
very
planned
much
obsolescence model. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much more caveman kind of engineering went into making, stuff.
They had the ability to over-engineer it, but they kept it simple with the idea that you could fix it. And it was, something that I think became the norm after the 1950s, when it became necessary for the consumer economy to constantly have to refresh.
Absolutely.
It was an economic strategy for winning the Cold War that's kind of outdated now.
Yeah, that's what I love about guitar pedals. Now it is, look, I've built the same pedal out of, the same circuit. It'll give you probably a similar sound, but it's a different color, or it's a different, the circuit's a different layout. Do you want another one? Yeah. And guitarists are like, yes, please. That's what I love about the guitar.
It's in a different enclosure. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many fuzz faces I've got that I've bought on that shelf over there of different makers, different brands. And I'm like, another fuzz face, do I need one? Yeah, I probably do.
Of course I do. Because this one's in purple.
I mean, I've got 3 damn meatheads in there.
Well, even
they all do sound different, honestly.
Well, I've even effects that aren't different. I've got 2 of the Demo-Dash T120 delays. What do I need 2 for? Because one was black and one was white. That's what I needed.
You need the matching set.
Actually, he sent me one as a trade for the fuzz, so I didn't really buy 2, but I
you've still got 2.
You're still going to keep them.
Well, I had 2 on me pedal board for the longest time.
The only pedal that I've got 2 of is because I blew one of them up.
What's that?
EHX. It was a Electro Harmonics. Their parallel mixer thing that they've got. Okay, EHX, and I put a 12-volt supply in it and blew it up. That's how cheap they are. They don't have any tolerance in their parts at all. It's like, I mean, I could probably fix it. It is surface mount, and I know the bit that's gone, but I bought another one because I love parallel effects.
Have you ever worked on surface mount stuff or?
Tried. I gave up after about 6 minutes.
It's beyond my patience level too. Like I have the chuck it in the bin mentality. If it's
I've done a few mods on them, but
I'll add things, but
it's a different way of working. I mean, because it's all done with solder paste, and you heat the whole thing. It's a much lower temperature kind of thing. Whereas we're used to getting the iron and solder.
They do have like a soldering iron that's a tweezer, that's a heated tweezer specifically for doing surface mount, but you're looking at doing a whole new like tooling up of everything, and you're staring through a magnifying lens for so long.
Well,
I used to do that, and it just
one of the irons
ruined
I've
my
got,
eyes.
One of the iron, at least the ones that I've got is actually meant for SMT, but I actually use it for some of the smaller joints that I've got.
Oh yeah,
because I'm a massive fan of active tip.
So you put me onto that Quicko one, is it? Quicko. So the thing kept beeping at me for the start and turning off. I was like, I can't do this. And every time I picked it up, it go beep beep. Like I kept thinking there was an alarm going off in the ship. Like what is that? Like I can't. I went back to Hacko in the end.
That's because that's it. So right. Okay. So this is right. I don't know whether you better listen to this. Right. So this is my arm. It's asleep at the moment. Right. I'm going to lift it up. When you hear the beep, that is it hitting 370
Celsius.
There you go.
Okay.
That's up to temperature.
That's quick.
But just when you're hunting submarines, I sit by the tail end of the ship next to further aft than the propellers. So I'm right aft, and I'm really low. Underneath me is basically the hull, and I'm soldering away. And I pick it up, and it goes beep beep. I'm like, probably shouldn't have that doing that. No, I don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got Hacko that doesn't have standby, don't you? So it's on all the time.
Yeah, it's just on always.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's so inefficient, but my wife pays the electric bill, so but
the other thing with that is that they also have, if you see the graph of the way that the
reheat the tip,
soak heat and
100%.
down these the active tips are like, and they're back again, whereas a dumb tip will down and the curve back up to temperature is really
Do you know
slow.
what I noticed is my soldering technique is different because of that curve, I think. So when I started using that tip, I was overheating them, I think, because I maybe holding it on for too long or I don't know. I found it really hard to get into, really hard.
Really? Oh, as soon as I got it, I was like, do you know what? Active tip. Yeah. I'm all for keeping me tip active.
I've been married for so long now, I don't even know what active means.
Yeah. So but I mean, it's a crazy world of modern technology with new soldering irons.
The best technology that I've ever got, and I mention it in every bloody video that I've ever done, is these things.
Oh yeah, Nipex. Yeah.
How Nipex haven't bought chairs in Hello Sailor by now, I don't know, because I bloody love these things. Yeah,
I've got quite a lot of their gear as well. So
with my first YouTube payments, I upgraded my flat noses to Nipex as well. I was like, yes, love them.
That's all I can find on the bench at the moment. So yeah, but they did send me some stuff. To be honest, I can't remember what they sent me. But yeah. But then they completely ghosted me. I don't really know what that was all about. Yeah,
I've just got a real fit. They're more expensive. They are more expensive, but they last for so much longer that you're not rebuying them.
It's not just but it's that they sit in the hand so well.
Oh, so good.
The ergonomics look great on them. Yeah.
I mean, I know they're quite soft, so you have to be careful what you cut with them. So
I've got an old pair that I use as my cutting things that I shouldn't cut with them, and I've got a new
thicker
pair.
Stuff. Honestly, these are my first pair. Well, not first, but I bought a pair of side cutters from Bob's Bits Box.
Oh right, yeah.
And these have lasted. I'm 6 years in with these.
Wow.
Yeah. They're really good.
Who does the kits that I've been built? Oh wow!
Yeah, I don't know. So I would get a pair of them because I use these for the really thick, for the 14 and the 16 gauge. I use these, and then for the thinner stuff and the components, I'll use the other ones because they're a cleaner cut.
Yeah.
And the other great thing I've got is these. I don't know how you say it. Zuron.
All right.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like a really, really fine needle-nosed plier.
Mm-hmm.
Are they super expensive? Are they?
No,
they're not very expensive at all. Yeah.
Are they? Oh,
I use these, and again, they're really, really good in the hand.
20 quid for them. Yeah. I bet never for them things.
Yeah, I've got a pair of the non-ESD versions of those.
Oh yeah.
And out of the two, I'll go for this every time just because it sits in the hand so nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's silicone. There's something about the spring in it that's nice. Whereas the spring is a little bit less progressive. I don't know what it is.
It really is, isn't it? It's a lot softer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
The spring on these.
Mm-hmm. Amazon. Just search for X. God, I can't even see it. And it's like XURON. Zuron.
Anyway. I nearly said bless you then.
Yeah. So yes, and also the reason I've got a load of Nipex stuff is because I made the mistake. This is a rookie mistake. I was like, when I built the previous workshop, I was like, oh, I'm going to have some really nice flash stuff. And I got some of those metallic, magnetic knife racks that you can put your knives on. I thought, I'll put my tools on them. Brilliant. No. All my tools are magnetized. So literally, they pick everything up. And they're still, the stuff that was on it, it's still got a magnetic pull, and it's great for the screwdrivers, obviously, and stuff like that. But for pliers, bits and bobs, they're getting covered in shit.
Yeah,
and also it's really surprising. It then tells me about the quality of my components what resistors are using ferrous leads and which resistors are using copper leads.
That's interesting.
There's a lot
You
more.
You
And
use the old,
capacitors too. A lot of capacitors use ferrous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, there's quite a lot of what I would consider really high-end capacitors that have got ferrous leads and not copper leads,
which are like horrible in certain environments, to say the least.
Yeah. So, like the resistors that I use, okay, and it's also a reliability thing. If you're going to have like high wattage, high voltage components, copper, they have to use copper because it's just got better integrity. But when you're talking about half watt, quarter watt resistors, it's not so mission critical. So they can get away with something that doesn't have such integrity. So the 1 watt, the massive 1 watt resistors that I use have got copper leads, but everything under that in the range goes down to ferrous leads.
Oh, really? I did wonder why you used the larger ones. I thought maybe a visual.
Also, it's because it's thicker and it's structurally it's better.
Yeah,
you know, the leads are really,
especially for your style too.
Yeah. So it's
do you
kind
ever
of
use any vintage resistors, or did you steer clear from the?
I've got some. I do a few like I've done a few builds with the brown carbon comps and stuff, but I haven't got any vintage stuff because
tolerance.
Yeah, the tolerance thing. So you'd have to be testing it, and then they start to become genuinely a custom pedal because I have to measure it, and then whereas if I'm doing this the way I do this, I only have to really check the transistors. The rest of the stuff I can trust. We check it, but I know that
you can check one in every 10.
Rather than saying, okay, I'm gonna have to bend the circuit because that resistor is out of spec, I'll just go, I'm not going to use that resistor. I'll use another one that's in spec, So I like to say that I use the supporting components. I knew the transistors are the new old stock stuff. And I find that the easiest way to do things. I like metal film as well.
If you're building batches of 10 as well, you want to make sure all M10 are the same, don't you? So
yeah.
And metal film, that was another thing I wanted to ask. Is that a noise thing, or because I know carbon film are the ones that sound, well, quote unquote, most natural in amplifiers, people would say. But
I was going to say in amplifiers, they make a difference because of the voltages and the heat involved. In a 9-volt pedal that doesn't really get very warm, doesn't really make a lot of difference, to be honest.
More for consistency. Like you're gonna in a metal film, you're gonna consistently get the same R value time after time within
I mean, in some, again, it depends on the circuit really, because in some circuits it will make a little bit of difference. But it depends where they are in the circuit and what is going through it. And whether it's a hard bias circuit or whether it's, if you look at like a Rangemaster or Electro, where they're a locked bias basically, so that is the part that is forcing the resistors to do their job, as opposed to the other way around, where the transistor in a fuzz face, the transistor's the boss. And the resistors are reacting to what the transistors are doing, whereas in a Rangemaster it's the other way around. You can put to a degree, you can put any HFE transistor in a Rangemaster. It doesn't make that much difference. It'll make a bit of a difference to the attack, to the way it handles a transient. But
which is what I would describe as bite. I would describe that as, but it's exactly at the attack. So the higher you go, the more you get, and the lower you go, the more, I don't know, lighter sound. How do you explain that? It's like I know what you mean. The spongier, yeah, exactly that. There's a point
like less
response as well.
there's a magic point, isn't there, where it starts to get weak.
Yeah.
And beyond that magic point, it starts to get like, no, you can't get rid of that transient, which is not what a range master is, Exactly. So
you're right. You can't bias them with any resistor, and you can really change the resistor to fit any transistor. You can get it biased in no matter what the HFE is.
Yeah, absolutely. But the swing is always going to be more or less the same. Whereas in a fuzz face, the swing, the swing is all over the place. So
another thing on this sort of vein, do you think that proximity of components makes a difference?
Yeah, massive difference.
So I think this too, which is why I think that PCBs that are tightly jam packed into a small pedal don't sound the same as a lot. Well, one of your builds especially, but something like on tag boards, there's more space between the components.
It's more to do with traces, to be honest. Components. Components themselves are fairly well insulated. Well, depending, I suppose it depends on what you use.
Because when you get into transistors, you can get a transistor too close to something, and you get a radio station you don't want coming through your pedals.
Absolutely, But parasitic capacitance is a genuine issue. People kind of are like, "Oh, is it a thing? Does it make?" Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
It certainly doesn't amplify it. So 100%.
So an amplifier will magnify by magnitude. What if you think your signal going into a pedal is being magnified, you think how much it's being magnified.
Oh yeah, how much more?
So it's what I was saying earlier on about the fluff around the note, and that's the parasitic capacitance where you've got a signal going one way and a signal going another way, and they grab bits of each other's signal, and you'll get some bleeding to earth, you'll get others, and there'll be phase issues, all sorts of things, tiny little ones, not anything that's like super noticeable where you go, oh, this is out of phase, but it's just little artifacts.
Put that in Robin Ford's hands, turn it up, and watch him be able to tell you the difference. That's the point.
Absolutely.
And Aaron's just come up with a point here. He says, talking about proximity, build a traditional fuzz face on a PCB, take two transistors away and put them next to each other, and then also stick them away, as in like change their position.
So rather than fold them like that, do the other opposite direction.
It all makes a difference, but it's incrementally. I mean, I get a lot of people say, you can't tell the difference between a transistor, B transistor, or capacitor or whatever. But then there's people like Eric Johnson who can tell you which way you've put the bulb into a Fender amp. Because of his ear is that attuned. And when you get into the sort of volume levels that the professionals play at, they know it highlights everything. Like I recently, not recently, a while ago,
without even playing. There's the other thing is a lot of the times that you can actually hear that shit when you're not playing, because it's doing its thing anyway.
When I first took the Stevie Ray Vaughan Tube Screamer idea circuit and played that out, the tagboard version I found was actually wrong, and I built about 20 of them with this wrong tagboard. There was a wire missing, and it was a wire coming from a filter cap basically to ground, and it was taking out this really high pitched sound. And I built 20 of them, not a single complaint, not one person mentioned it. I sent one to Mick from that pedal show. The first time he plugged it in, he said, "Mate, there's a weird noise." Like, okay, plug mine in, can't hear it. Turn 100-watt valve amp up, give it some love. I was like, oh my God, what is that noise? Trace the circuit, missed the wire. So it's not grounding part of the circuit. It's not taking that noise away. That's all 20 of them. Not one person noticed. And it's all because the people who are that high up in the, I don't say high up, but the people at that level, they can hear these things. They will hear it. So.
And it's also why, it pays to test your pedals loud.
Learned that lesson.
So
I used to be
luckily
very
I've got.
fortunate of having a
Sorry?
warship. I used to be fortunate. You'd be in a warship, 440 volt cables, 700 volt cables, all going past you everywhere in the ship. Cable runs. It's like a magnetic nightmare. You plug a pedal in there, there's always a hum. And if you can get that hum down as low as you can, you know you're doing well. Take it out that environment. Quietest pedal in the world.
Well, that's why I've got 2 power supplies on my bench. One's a really good one. One's a really shit one.
That's same here.
Yeah, and I'll make sure, you know, I can do my best when I'm designing a pedal more than testing them. When I'm working on a pedal, I will make sure that I can get as much of that hum down, much of the noise coming out of that crappy pedal supply as possible. So
it's unsexy to buy a nice pedal supply. You know, you're buying something that is expensive, but you can't really hear.
It's not shiny, is it? No.
Well, and then, you know, you don't know what they're going to plug it into. It's like we were talking about before. You know, musicians are notorious for grabbing whatever wall wart, whatever 9-volt connection, and sticking it right in and going to town. And so, you know,
I said to one guy once, it almost sounds like you're plugging it straight in the wall, and he said, "I am." Like,
that's why Aaron is doing the battery bank that he's just launched.
I'm excited about that. Yeah,
you know, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, lots of people have done it. Kingtone do one,
but not to the
Electro do one. But this is
not
got
to the comprehensive level. Yeah, he's doing all the factors that make a real battery dying. You know what it is. Like he takes all that different sag and recovery into effect.
Capacitance.
All that stuff, you know, that you can't really just get with like dialing your voltage back. That doesn't do the same thing.
The stuff that Robin Ford would spot, but you know, other people not necessarily would quite understand. Well, you know,
I had no clue that capacitance in a cable was a thing. It just didn't occur to me. And then, of course,
resistance too.
Yeah.
Like you're adding resistance as well. The longer your cable is.
After seeing Gearman do it, I had to have a curly cable, but the difference in sound is
crazy, isn't it?
It's audible.
Man.
Absolutely.
I've got.
I get obsessed with
I'm lucky. A good friend of mine runs a company called Stuart Dixon. He runs a company called Axe Custom Cables. He's actually fairly local to me, and he's got some really, really interesting, super low capacity cables that I'm about to rig up most of the workshop in, so that I've got a test rig, because at the moment I'm still plugging in, you know, each time I want to test. But what I want to do is have all the amps plugged in, have I build myself a little selection box, so I can go like that amp, you know, have 4 amps that I can choose from, and literally just plug into it here. I'll have a big sturdy keyboard drawer here that I can just test all the stuff on, have a power supply and all that. But it all, you know, goes off having good low capacity cables, because, you know, that's 18 feet. And, you know, and when you're looking at going, shall I, you know, smoothing cap, shall I use 100 picofarad or shall I use 47 picofarad? When you're talking about that amount of nuance,
small difference,
all that cable is going to make a bigger difference, you know. So so Stuart does I think it's a cable that's like 20 picofarads a meter, something really stupid, really low.
Wow.
So that means I can have like 18 feet without any buffers, without anything driving it, and still be happy that that's, you know, not taking out too much. And he does a really cool system actually, where he's got these cables. Oh, hang on. Which are basically really super flexible. They're 56 picofarads a meter. I'm doing a selling job for him now. So that's flexible silicon stuff from your guitar to your pedal board. And then from your board to your amp, it's really rigid, and it's got a
like a sheathing on.
sheath. Yeah, it's really stiff, but that's from the pedal board to the amp, and that can be run over, and you can stamp on it and do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that's the really low capacitance. So if you want to have a pedal board that doesn't have any buffers on it, you're groovy.
Awesome.
I love it.
So yeah, he's a really clever guy. Really clever guy. So
There's a whole world to that. I mean, Aaron's just come up with another great point. The lower cap cable lets you run more treble in the amp, which I didn't know, which gives you a more natural gain. Yeah. So it's like an ecosystem. I completely get that, but I never understood that when I was starting out. I was just like, cable, amp, go. Paying more, like £2,000 for a guitar and paying 10 pence for the cable, you know.
Again, it's about one, what you're used to. I mean, you look at is it Freddie King? Who was the guy that used to have the 100-meter cable? And he was like, that's, even if he was stood next to my amp, I'm still going to be using that cable. One of the old blues guys, because that was part of his tone, you know. And that's what his ears knew.
He had the impedance of his pickups and the cable and everything.
Yeah,
like he had a signal
so
chain. It was
resonant peak from your pickups. He was a strap player. Was it Buddy Guy?
It would probably be Buddy Guy. That sounds like Buddy Guy, because Buddy Guy liked
Albert
to
King.
walk out.
Yeah.
Buddy Guy would walk out into the audience too a lot of times.
Yeah.
There's another good one.
So,
Eric Johnson's pedal board. He's got 50 feet of cables.
Cord between pedals.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Albert Collins.
Makes sense.
Albert Collins. Yeah. But
Albert Collins, the master of Telecaster disaster.
So it's all it's all about what you're used to. But I think these days, when you've got all this stuff at your disposal, that I'm a fan of replicating the source as much as possible. So if that's what your guitar sounds like when you're plugged into it with a 2-meter cable, I want it to sound the same if it's down, 20 feet away from me on the stage, or 50 feet away from me. So, it's a world of so many different variables.
Well, it's all preferences.
That's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah. I get so many people tell me you'll never hear that on stage. Like, maybe you won't, but some people will, or maybe you'll hear it when you're practicing and it'll sound amazing. So when you're on stage, you feel better. I never get that. It's like saying, why'd you buy a nice guitar?
It's back to that thing of you being in the moment. It makes you feel better about playing. It makes you put you in the place. And if you're on stage and you're playing and you're really vibing with what's coming out of your amp, you're going to play better. And that energy is going to go out to your audience, and they're going to dig it more. They're not going to be going, oh, yeah, his guitar tone is brilliant tonight. They're going to go, he's really brilliant tonight. And he's going to be going, my guitar tone's really brilliant tonight. And
I first, well, not first noticed, but I really, that point was driven home to me by Chris Buck. The first time he went on that pedal show, he had 6 drive pedals that to me sounded exactly the same. And I do mean exactly the same. And he was like, they're all basically the same, but I click it on, I feel different. Like, brilliant. That's exactly it.
Rhett Shaw said something a few weeks ago on one of his episodes where he said, now it was about, he did a dive into Martin acoustic guitars. And he got 3 or 4 different levels of D28s. Well, no, Martin guitars. And he said, now, I don't think this is going to come across on the audio. It's a player thing, not a listener thing. And I was like, that's a brilliant way of looking at it. It's a player thing, not a listener thing, And that really sums up what sometimes the difference between 2 fuzz pedals. You might be sitting there listening to a fuzz face and going, they sound exactly the same. But you put the same person playing that fuzz face and they'll be like, these are completely different.
And they'll have a preference of one over the other.
Yeah, because they respond differently to how you play, you know, and it goes down to the geometry of your hand, of, you know, how you hold the guitar, all those sort of things. And one fuzz face might fit one person, the other one might fit the other, but they still sound the same.
Yeah, exactly. So, on Birmingham Guitar Show last year, there's a guy who goes by the name Craze Fandango. I think it's his band. He tried out a couple of my fuzz pedals.
I've seen that
He
name
was looking
before.
for one.
Yeah.
He comments quite regularly. He was there with his wife and he's plugging pedals in and whatever. And he plugged in the one that looked the worst, and he probably didn't want to buy that one. He plugged in and he started playing, and we all looked at each other and said, "That's the one." And he's like, "It is." And it was nothing to do with the sound. It was the way that he was reacting to the way that the pedal was delivering.
Yeah,
it was very much and it's like I can tell that that's the one that you're feeling. Even though
we've all come across pedals like that where that everybody is absolutely raving about, and you get one and go,
I don't see what all the fuss is about. Yeah.
yeah. And then other times you'll get something and go, this is the dogs. And it'll be, you know, one of Jeff Bezos's pedals. You know,
Joyo Vintage Overdrive. That's what everyone should buy. It's a tube screamer. It's a TS-808, and it's one of the best pedals that you can get.
Yeah, the Joyo. I've got one of the Joyo ones. I've also got a Mosky Golden Horse.
Oh,
so Simon from JHS raves about them.
Yeah, I've got them. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And what else have I got? A Mosky Super Hard On. That is a great. I mean, it's a very, very simple. It's really simple.
It's hard to mess with them.
Yeah, but the more simple the circuit, you know, the easier it is to fug it up. I love the Super Hard On. That's such a great.
So good. Well, my Anchor Drive comes from several Super Hard-Ons and some of the bits mashed into a pedal.
Yeah. So because that was Fuzz Dog did the 2 in a row, didn't he?
So mine's
double,
like 2 in a row with a
double boner, or think he called it.
Mine's got like a dual gain pot, so it's like you do the preamp and a power amp at the same time with the gain.
I mean, it's a really, really good first in the chain circuit if you're not a fuzz user, because of the way the impedance works with a Strat pickup, especially the weak pickups. But yeah, I mean, it's the first section of the Thorpe Warthog.
Yeah, that's
an SHO, you know, because it crackles. Yeah.
There's loads of pedals that do it, and I never noticed.
To be absolutely honest, it's not an SHO. It is the textbook way to use
PS170
that MOFSET, you know. So and Zevex went, oh, do you know what? That's the thing. We'll make it a thing.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I love about the Kossoff drive. People say, "What is it?" Say, "Well, it's 3 JFETs stacked together. You know, you got the gain first, you got post gain EQ, and then a master volume." I'm like, yeah, but what's it based on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's based on the way that you wire up a JFET, mate, and put 3 of them together.
Yeah. It's based off of basic electronics principles.
Yeah.
I mean, there's loads of pedals that probably work in the same manner if we were to look through the schematics, but
absolutely,
it's like saying, how does a valve preamp work? Well, it works in the only way it can.
Exactly. Yeah. Transistors are you know, there's not many ways you can make there's only like 3 ways you can make a transistor work.
Yeah.
You know, so so we've got to do something with that now.
It just makes me I always just think of it as building blocks, and the Electro Smash website is the best for explaining this. There's different sections, tone stack, gain stack, preamp, whatever, and you pick what you like, put it together like a building block. Hey, presto, new pedal. And Brian Wampler's actually done an amazing video on this where he designs an overdrive in front of people. He's like, "Oh, I like this preamp, or this whatever." And he just puts it all together.
Well, I mean, he ages ago he sent me. We were talking about inverting and non-inverting op amps.
Yep.
And talking about circuits, and I've still got it, and I haven't breadboarded it yet. He sent me this circuit. He said it was literally a photograph of it sketched out on a piece of yellow paper, and he said, "Oh, there you go, have that." And I'm like, "What is it?" He said, "Well, it's just a thing I was thinking of last night, and it's just got the tone stack is in a really interesting place in it. And I'm like, is that something? He's like, no, I don't think I haven't made this. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I better give that a crack. But I haven't yet. But yeah, I'm not really a big op amp aficionado.
I get that impression.
Yeah, they're not a thing that. I mean, I know how they work. I know that they're a bunch of transistors in a little packet, because transistors are actually. Well, here's the thing, right? The wafers in any transistor, I haven't got any. Weirdly, I haven't got any scattered about. They're usually everywhere. I've got them stuck in the balls of my feet most of the time.
Yeah, my wife loves that.
When you actually, so they say this is a package. Okay, so you've got the TO98 package. That's a package that actually carries the transistor. Transistor is freaking tiny, and they haven't changed. The transistors are the same when they go in SMT.
Yep,
they're just a bare transistor rather than in a package.
Yeah.
Okay, so and the same in an op amp. They're still the same thing. They're just
together.
Yeah. SMT in a tiny little.
Well, have you never considered doing what Simon from JHS does and just play the op amp out as if it was a circuit? Yeah,
those are awesome.
He built me a clon. It's got like
nine
transistors in the thing, JFETs and stuff.
Well, I've got his first FET breaker.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Wait there, the FET breaker, is it? I think the very first one.
Yeah.
I think he sent. So he sent me that and the clon to test out in like 2017. And I sent him the FET breaker back and said, "This is amazing. What am I sending you for the clon? Because it's now on my pedal board."
Yeah,
he was like,
"But I've got that, and I put a bass. So I put a bass selector switch in it. I modded it a bit. So
what a pedal.
Yeah, it's a great pedal, and but it just, I look at it, I'm like, no, fuck that. I'll put the top back on.
It's a lot, isn't it?
I was talking to him just before I came on. He said he was going to chip in. I don't know whether he is about in the chat, but
he might be on Instagram.
Yeah, he's on another level. He's on. He's the guy I phoned up. Yeah. I mean, he'll explain something to me. I'll be like, no, still don't get it.
I used to have these long conversations with him, and he'd text me and say like, "Oh, give me, I don't know, his thoughts on a circuit," and I'd have to go away and Google everything he said, so then I could understand what he's talking about, and then get back to him. He must have thought, the ignorant bastard takes forever to get back to me. But it was me on Google, like, what does this mean? How does this part of the circuit work? What is he trying to tell me? Without sounding like an idiot, because he's just so. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, even the simplest thing. Okay, so I've got I've got another little experiment that he did, was a basically just taking the tone stack from a clon. Okay, so the tone stack and the makeup stage from a clon, and put it in a little pedal, which he did, and because I wanted to try that circuit sort of in with a fuzz face and see how that worked, and it is really nice, really nice, and still can't for the life of me work out how to do it. Literally, I mean, it's probably really easy. In fairness, I probably haven't spent enough time sitting there going, right, okay, let's get my head around this op amp thing. Said it many times. Yeah, he's a genius.
I've said it a million times. Simon is a genius.
Simon is a genius. Yeah,
he is. Yeah, absolutely.
Me and John did our Tube Screaming episode with him, and I think if you go back and watch it, both of us are most of the way through it. It's just he's off the top of his head. He's like, so this calculation tells you that the frequency will be at this, and I'm like, what has just happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's it's brilliant that there are people like that. Really, because it keeps me on my toes, and kind of, he's like a real maverick,
Unbelievable. He's like a modern scientist, technical next to my Neanderthal in a caveman suit with a club. That's how I sort of see us.
Yeah, it is really interesting when you think people how if you're given the opportunity that you express your kind of personality in in what you do. We're all Simon is just like the ultimate nerd, and just his pedals are all about the nerd out. And as soon as he cracked one kind of thing, I've got this idea. Yeah, that's it, brilliant. Right, I'm going to do this next idea now. On to the next thing, Whereas for me, it's very much more about a creative expression for me, and for you, there's a different vibe again for you, because you're like, okay, well, I've done, you want to keep it different all the time. Whereas I'm all about order. Well, you can probably tell from my workshop.
Yeah, exactly.
I do like a bit of order in my life, So
I think mine's like a revolt to the order. We're in the same uniform, the same day, the same everything.
Yeah,
we're going to the ship for 22 years, and now it's like this needs to be different. And I think that's why mine is so random.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I can get that. I can get that completely. I mean, I've had quite a what's that, tumultuous life, but I've had quite a colourful life.
Oh yes,
and
I've had that. I know what you mean.
And it's nice to that bloody cat. Come on, mate. Come on. He's like, I want to be on the podcast.
He's playing
So so I think it's nice to. I've settled down. We bought a lovely Victorian money pit, and it's just nice. It is really nice to have a bit of order in my life, really now. So that's kind of the expression that I've got. So, and again, I was saying about Simon, and I think if people are left to their own devices, that doing something like this, and not just pedal building, but in in any form where you're allowed to do your own thing to a degree, it becomes an extension of your personality, really.
Absolutely.
And I love seeing that in all the different people that do their things in a different way. And that's why what I really like about Instagram really is because you just see all these different ways people make pedals.
Yeah.
And it's kind of magical, really, that you can do the same thing so many different ways.
Unbelievable. And it can sound so wildly different. Look and sound wildly different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many good. I could rattle off so many really interesting guys that just don't really get a lot of pickup. There's one guy that look at like NRG Effects.
Oh my God,
Nigel Grimes, his stuff is brilliant.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's almost annoying. So I have this thing where I try and get as little wiring looms as possible, but they all have to be together. And his pedals
are almost winking at you at the moment.
He's coming over to get me.
Sorry, go on. Yeah, his little mini wiring looms. Yeah.
The wiring looms are like annoyingly perfect.
Yeah.
You could never put a bass on that sort of thing. You just can't.
No. And there's another guy called, do you know Analog Noir?
I've got one of his kits, a Tone Bender Mark 1 kit, and I built 3 years ago. Because I said to him, I've never built a Tone Bender. He said, "Oh, you can buy this kit off me if you want."
Yeah,
and it's been sat there looking at me for 3 years. But
his hammer finishes are absolutely amazing.
He's done like a bronze hammer finish on this one. He
uses 2 colors. He'll use an acrylic flat paint, 2 colors of hammer finish, and get this thing going on. I've tried it, and it just looks like I've just had a shit on an enclosure, honestly. Or maybe even the cat has. But just. I mean,
he should be charging more as well.
Yeah. Yes, he should. Yeah, I really love his photographs as well. He must live somewhere very sunny, because he always takes them in his hand in the sunset, doesn't he? Yeah. And I've noticed. I'm looking for something that I've. I don't know where it is. Anyway, there's somebody else that started copying his photographs. I've noticed recently over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, taking photographs of their pedals in the sun, just like Analog Noir. I can't remember who it is. September Sound, maybe. I don't know.
I've never
That's
heard of
another.
September
That's another pedal builder to watch. Actually, September Sound are really
Sound.
good,
Mm-hmm.
really cool. They've kind of got a thing. You know, is it Apollo approved? Those guys, really beautiful circuit boards, really, really nice, really well presented. He's kind of got that vibe, but slightly more bougie kind of thing. September Sound. He's Japanese, I think. But
I feel like I'm out of touch with all these new brands coming out.
I'm all over it on Instagram.
I've had to remove myself from Instagram. I used to spend hours on it, answer all the questions, go and comment on do all this stuff. And I found that since like turning my phone on flight mode, I can work. Because otherwise I spend half an hour on my phone and then I haven't done anything.
I use the business dashboard on the PC. You've got to. Don't use your phone. You will be hours down the rabbit hole. If you use the dashboard on the PC, it lists all your comments, what's been unanswered, what is answered. So you can just go through and just.
They keep trying to monetize me Instagram, but all my taxes, my pedal business is owned by my wife, so tax is really easy for me because she pays tax anyway and she works part-time, so she can work it all out, whereas the Navy pay me a wage and I never have to think about anything. I'm like a child when I do this sort of thing. I don't know what I'm going to do when I leave. I have to grow up and learn how money works, because right now I just use my card and it just works.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Income tax. Yeah. Halfway through last year, I had my accountant phone me up and went, "You have to go limited company." I'm like, "Oh, what? It's just you do." Yeah. And because I was a sole trader, I'd earn over a certain threshold. It was just all got really complicated, and it was like, because I've done this if I'd have done the crowdfunding, the really big push for all the sales on one day, the other side of April, it would have been fine. I see. But because it was in the wrong tax year, it made a massive hump in my earnings, which was not spread across. If it had spread across a long time, it'd be fine. But because there was this big hump, in the wrong tax year, and it all just went to shit. Anyway, so
it's a nightmare.
You have, it's taught me a big lesson on financial planning and planning. You know, again, it's the DIYer in me versus the business owner, and there's part of me that's like was slightly reluctant to think of things in absolutely. No, I have to sell it. I have to wait and do this then, or I have to do this now because of the money.
Yeah,
you know, it's vulgar, isn't it? Talking about money.
Yeah, it's all known when it's your hobby.
It's what keeps a lot of people from doing it as a vocation, is because it takes all the things that made it fun out of the equation, having to keep up with that. And, it's the fine balance for the artist. You know, you either have to, you either have to manage it. You either have to manage it for yourself and, know how to do the business, or you have to have somebody you trust that handles that aspect for you. Because otherwise you're going to just like go in the hole and hate yourself for ever thinking of doing it. And
absolutely.
I have a lot of guys in work, because I was meant to be going outside of the Navy next month. The 13th of next month was meant to be me, civilian. And all the guys were saying, when this is your full-time job, you will resent it, you'll hate it, whatever. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, when you're doing it like 6 hours a day, say, like, well, at the minute I'm working all day in the Navy, then I'm doing family till about 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then I'm working till 4 a.m. on this. So at what point am I not working 6 hours? It just means I'll be able to sleep.
The difference is the difference is going to be, it's the change from having the guaranteed paycheck from the Navy to the I've got to sell. I've got to get a number of views. I got to do this.
Well, I've never had another
certainty. But now you've got a pension too. Like you've got the guaranteed pension, so you're in a
when
perfect,
I leave, I will.
You're in a perfect place for that.
I think. I mean, I've got a pension as well, but I think
I get mine when I'm 40.
Yeah, that's not too bad though. But I mean, the point there is that you can't. I think pensions are not the sort of thing you really need to rely on. Really, you've got to.
I think I'm due. I don't know if I was to leave this year. I think I'm due 50 grand tax free in my hand and 11 grand a year. I think from the age of 40, and then when I get to pensionable age, it goes index links and jumps up a bit. But
the forces. Sure. I mean, the forces do look after their people.
Not anymore.
It depends.
They've just changed it in the last couple of years because people are living longer. We used to drink ourselves to death by the time we were 50.
Yeah.
So I think.
My oldest was just about to go into was considering going into the RAF, she decided against it, but there were lots of reasons. But one, as you say, one of them was the changing terms. Because everybody she'd spoken to about it, she'd flew through the cadets, she'd done really well in the cadets, everyone that she'd spoken to was like, this is the deal that that we had. And then when she actually looked into it, it was like, that's not what I was expecting.
It changed in 05 and then it changed again in 2017. So the 05 one, they give us the option. They said, do you want to change over? And I was like, there's no way they're giving me money for free. So no, I'll stay on the old one.
Stay on the old plan. Yeah.
Same with nurses.
The plan was, same with nurses. I think the plan was
my wife is a nurse.
So,
and they
rough job.
They went from having really, really good terms, not being paid particularly well, but like 8 weeks paid sick a year, and a really, really good final salary pension and all that sort of stuff, to literally not much. Now it's not much better than 0 hours contracts.
Wow.
Literally, it's terrible.
That's not good.
So and again, they enticed you to contract out of these various things by making it look, that's good, but actually it was shit.
Bait and switch.
Exactly. So
and this is a thing with pedal building. People don't take into account all of this other stuff. So I did that JHS video on the cost of did someone do a video about the cost of his pedals?
Yeah, John Cordy.
So I stumbled on that and I was like, wow, when my workshop's finished, I'm going to build, my favorite one of his pedals. I'm gonna have a go building that and see how much it costs. I did that and I got so much backlash of people saying he's not ripping people off. I'm like, did you watch the video where I actually say that he needs to put his prices up to help all of us because he's further along,
I mean, he did a really transparent video about his costs as well, about overheads and
brilliant,
I mean, it's just
the sad reality.
Don't realize the difference between a hobbyist and somebody who wants to make a living from it, and there's so much more involved.
A lot of people are saying, he's making all this money on these pedals. Like, great, he's created something, or he's brought back an old company back to life. He's been an entrepreneur. He's brought value to something, and now he's making money.
That old company he brought back to life failed too.
I know it cost him money.
He ended up costing him money. He lost money on the whole deal.
It was a labor of love. But what I mean is, though, if that was a massive success, why would you hold it over someone as a bad thing instead of celebrating it and going, that's amazing?
Well, and the other thing is, regardless of how good of a video he made explaining all that, the people that get it still get it, and the people that it's over their heads, it's still going to be over their heads. I've explained that till I was blue in the face to people, and some people just will not budge from the fact that they think it should cost what they think it costs, no matter what. And you just lose time and you get frustrated.
There's a saying, I mean, I think people have, you can't really change people's minds. You know,
No.
leopard doesn't change its spots, and or you could say you can't argue with stupid.
Pretty much.
You know, yeah, if somebody's set in their ways about something, you just have to say, well, you know what, if that's what you think.
I mean,
carry
I
on,
look at it.
you know.
I look at it as like
Not
they're
really.
good for a laugh. It's good to like get them in the comment section and egg them on and get them to like spout some ridiculous stuff and get some other people to jump in, and then I step back and go, "You guys have fun. I'm over here."
Yeah,
I'm an instigator. I love doing that. But
you know, if somebody, I mean, there was for instance, a few just before Christmas. There's a guy, Brad Webb, I think. He's got an amp. He's an Australian guy. He's got an amp. Restoration.
Brad's Guitar Garage, is it?
Garage, that's it. Yeah. He made it. He was having a bad day, and he made a really silly comment on one of my. It was either on a video or something. Anyway, he made a really silly comment. It was like, "Oh, dude, solder's not glue. Stop it. You need mechanical connection."
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And,
I missed this.
I jumped in on that too. I remember.
And
that was a fun one.
For a couple of weeks, I had solders not glue T-shirts made up.
Yes.
And
well, what was the context then? Is it just like?
It was just he was. There was a close up of some of my soldering joints, and I think he was.
So we weren't looking at the slopes.
No, he wasn't looking at anything.
It was where you were showing like your technique, where you had like your tip and you heated it up and you ran it across and everything.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
So I've got showing the process in like really great high detail close up.
Yeah.
And he was just like, and I thought it was like, oh, it's just, him having a cheeky go at you. And so I jumped in and it was hilarious.
I get that in an amplifier. You wouldn't just stick two components together and solder it because there's a massive amount of voltage behind that. You're not going to do it.
Well,
but that's
here's
not
the
what
thing.
This is.
This whole mechanical connection argument, there's two things. One is that if you've got a mechanical connection and it's soldered, before that mechanical connection comes loose, the solder has to crack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing going to move that mechanical connection until the solder's broken. That's the first thing. And the reason that all these textbooks say you've got to make mechanical connections is because in production lines, before PCBs were a thing, you would very often have people putting the stuff together, making the mechanical connections with multiple components, and then they would go and be soldered.
Then they go to be soldered. Yep. Sometimes in a bath.
That's why they had to have a mechanical connection, because they were physically being moved from one person to another.
Yeah. And sometimes they were being soldered, dipped in the solder bath. Like you had a molten tray of solder that you just dipped the whole board in and pull it out.
So the mechanical connection, specifically on old radios and amplifiers and things, was to do with production, not necessarily to do with longevity. I get it with things, but at the end of the day, if you're in an amplifier with heat and massive amounts of vibration, you've got to remember that amplifiers it's not just traveling, it's the freaking speaker. 2 hours a night, 3 hours a night being given full beans, it's getting a lot of vibration. So your solder joints are going to crack. Yeah, I get it, but this is a guitar pedal.
Yeah, that's the thing. The voltage in it is not massive.
Yeah,
it's not under a lot of stress.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think for me, if I can make a mechanical connection, and it's something that's a floating component, then I probably will. But I certainly won't on my tag board. I'm not bending them over because it makes it a nightmare to change them out when they're broke. Yeah. Or if the worst happens.
Same,
I mean, even military spec, they say you wrap it round for military spec. They still only went like 3/4 of the way round because they want to be able to get it off again.
Yeah. I mean, I've got I generally, if I can, my transistor legs, I'll put a U in the bottom of them before I put them on if I can. But apart from that, no, it's just.
Well, yours is all structural, so it's not like it's one floating connection. Like if I'm doing an LED, I'll float the connection, but that's one joint on its own. Yours are like triangles
Yeah,
everywhere.
absolutely.
You know, it's a solid structure.
And so you
I've
also have
given
the
a lot
ability.
of,
You
yeah, a
have the
lot of
ability
thought.
to have like a line, like you can have surface area as your advantage. Like you're not just butt joining like the tip of the wire to the edge of the wire. Like you can lay that thing on it. And
Yeah.
that gives you a much.
It's the thing from a photograph. Sometimes it's difficult to understand the structural elements of it. Where when I look at it, I'm like, when I've designed it, I'm like that. Right? Is it gonna? What's it gonna
You
do?
got the.
Yeah.
Chuck it, and what's he gonna do? You know, and yeah, they're pretty sturdy. I mean, I wouldn't go in with a fork, you know, but it's not.
Is it a good question to end the show on? Actually, I didn't realize how long we've been going there.
Yeah, we've been going for over 3 hours.
Third Tone from the Sun says, what model Crico do you use, Marcus? And this thing you will not believe.
Well, I'm not using a Quicker. I'm using a Weman T31 now, but the Quico that my backup, or the one that Izzy uses when she comes over, because she's got one of these at home. But hang on, let me just take the wand off it. Is a T12 952.
Yeah, 2 seconds, mate, and I'll put you on full screen. There you go. And that's the one that I bought as well. It's a really good soldering iron. Makes a lot of noise.
Yeah. Now don't get the T12 942, because this has got the 24 volt power supply already built into it, whereas the 942 doesn't have the power supply built in.
So I bought the 942 as well.
So you need the external. Yeah, you need an external power supply for it, huh?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a very cool. I love them.
Not very much money either.
No, I mean, for that and the tip and a holder, you'll probably pay 30 quid.
That's not bad.
Honestly, mate, 30 quid and 200 quid for the Hacko.
Yeah,
and you could have something that performs
arguably.
I mean, this Weman,
I might get one of those.
That's got a transformer in it. So this bad boy here.
Oh, looks shiny.
That was 80 quid.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it is absolutely. I mean, it knocks 7 balls out of that for speed.
Really?
Of heat up, yeah.
Don't be saying that. Every time you mention a new tool, I end up buying it.
And it might.
The thing with soldering irons, okay, is when you're a hobbyist, tip heat up speed is a luxury to have it fast. It's not really important. The one thing is the heat consistency, is how much it will make up the heat, and how quickly it makes up the heat when you put it on the back of a pot or something really thick. And active tips, they've got the sensor right in the tip, and it's like, oh, right, bang, straight back up again. You know, whereas the dumb tip, like in your Hacko, as we said earlier on, the curve of it heating back up is much slower. And that is the thing I think will make soldering easier for a newbie, is if your tip temperature is more consistent.
Because you're not hanging around on something that doesn't like a lot of heat.
Yeah, exactly. So you put it on and it melts and goes.
Yeah, I've got the Tenma version of the active tip. I'm using one of theirs that I got it for about $39 because it was on sale. They were upgrading to a newer model, but yeah, it was a game changer once I got it, because like you said, you don't have that lag, especially when you're doing the backs of potentiometers. On something that like has really got a heat sink factor to it. Like I was able to get my ground connections on pots so much quicker when I got that iron.
I find it hard to get new stuff and then make it work for me. You know, unless it's, I mean, that's why I love the Nipex snips so much. So I had a set of snips I loved, and I was like, I don't need them newfangled. I'll try them. And then the first cut, almost like angels appeared, and like singing down, like, right, okay, then they're now the new standard. But I didn't get that with the soldering iron. It felt like it was a hindrance. It was weird.
Yeah, if you're not vibing with it, then don't do it. You know, absolutely.
But for first quid if I was a beginner. I mean, even the ones that I recommend, the old, there's one that's sold on Amazon that's hotter than usual cheap soldering irons. Even that's nowhere near as good as the quicker one. It's more expensive. So,
well, I keep meaning to do. When I've finished, well, I've got 3 more batches to do, and then I'm out the back of all these pre-orders. There's a few YouTube things that I've got lined up, and I've got an iron shootout because I've got the Weller, I've got the Hacko, I've got this Wemmen, and I've got the Quicko, and I want to do a proper soldering iron shootout between the two. So all the stuff I've got a temperature gauge, so I can see what the drop is. I've got I can put
like an infrared gun. Is that what you
No, it's a thermistor. So it's like some wires across it's a proper.
I get you.
One of these for calibrating your soldering iron.
Mm-hmm.
So what I can do is put soldering iron that and put a pot on the top of it and see how the temperature goes down and comes back up again. On each one of those.
You'll get your sag rate and your recovery rate and everything.
Yeah. See what the heat up time is.
Before you do that one, have you signed up for Amazon affiliates then?
No.
You need to do that because
you'll get a
because
load.
you put affiliate links into the
you get a load.
soldier. I mean, I make about, I don't know, so far I've been doing it for 3 weeks. I've made £30 in the US and £15 in the UK. It's not a lot of money, but
it adds up after a while.
Money, yeah.
And it's
probably.
Especially that soldering iron one, because a lot of people will want to buy them. And even if they buy like a fridge afterwards in the same login, you get the money for that too. So it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, well, fair play. Yeah, I mean, I might do that, but I want to do that with the soldering iron because I bought a well. Here's the thing: I bought a Weller first of all, right, 6 years ago, and the after about 2 months of transforming it shut itself.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I sent it back. They're not built like they used to be.
Yeah, they're having them made in lowest common denominator factories everywhere. Putting their name on it.
Sent it back. In the meantime, I needed while they were checking it and seeing whether they would send me a new one or not. In the meantime, I needed an iron, so I thought, well, I'll try a Hacko out. So I bought a Hacko. Was using that. Then obviously this Weller comes back, the new one, and I'm like, okay, I've got 2 irons now. And then I started going down the active tip rabbit hole, and got the Quicko, and that served me well for a couple of years. Then I got this Wemmen, and now I've got the full gamut.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And I've used them all properly. I've given them all a good few months of service, So I should do that.
Do you find that they can all offer a good joint, or do you find that you will get a better joint from the ones that have a better recovery?
I find that the active tips are, for what I do, I do think they especially when I'm doing things like soldering diodes to a really thick ground bus, getting that ground bus heated up really quickly in a very small area, and then drawing a solder onto the diode, or the leg of the diode, and then away is good. Whereas with an old tip, I'd have had to be heating. There'd be quite a big area of the of the thing being heated up. And what happens is when I've got like 6 diodes in a clipping array going across, we start heating one piece, and then what happens is when you go to the next one, it pulls all the solder with it because everything's heated up. and you end up with the first piece that you went to solder with very little solder on because it's dragged it all off it.
It's all been wicked away.
Yeah,
So do you like set up a couple of builds to the same point and then solder,
Yeah.
or do you? Okay, so that's where I'm.
So
That's
yes.
because I'm soldering one solder joint, soldering iron down, do some stuff. Next solder joint, soldering iron down, and I think the constant.
So if for instance the Leos, where you've got there's a switch that's there's an on switch, so you've got 3 different sets of diodes. So I've got 6 diodes to solder, and they're all coming off the switch and onto the ground bus which runs across. I'll have 10 of those set up, and I'll fit all the diodes, bend them all into place, make sure they're all exactly in the right place, and then get soldering iron, bang, 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 all the way across.
That makes total sense.
It just makes for consistency, because the first one might be not absolutely perfect, but then you get into a rhythm and literally they're all just exactly the same.
I did wonder this in the past, because with me picking it up, one solder joint, back down again, beep, beep, on, off, next component on the same pedal. It's just tediousness. But then if I was doing it your way, it probably would be. Yeah. I feel like I'm talking myself into getting a new soldering iron. Haley, my wife Haley, if you're watching this now, I'm not buying a new soldering iron. I'm buying a new
one. You're borrowing one from. You can borrow one from me for on semi-permanent line. There we go.
I feel like when you make this video, I'm going to be sat there like, I'm not watching it. Oh God, which one am I buying? Oh, you've got a quick couple of questions before.
Fire away. Good.
The Wemmen one is 220 volt.
Hang on, let me turn it off because it's bleeping.
We're almost 240 in the UK, and it handles it fine, does it? Or?
So 220 is usable in the UK. Absolutely. So that is the spec on the back. I don't know what it says there. 220.
There you go. This is the point where I'll be rewinding to have a look at what my next soldering iron's going to be. Yeah.
So it's a great bit of kit.
There's one from Aaron Aldersband. Hello, mate. I hope you're well. Are we still live? Yeah, unfortunately we are.
He was on earlier too. I think he jumped on, went off, and then came back on. He's at the NAMM show in Cali.
I think I did that once as well. I came back. I went off and I don't know, went to the gym or something, came back, and you were still going.
That might have been one of the Simon episodes, because I think we went like over 3 hours with Simon one time, to the point where
how many knobs before it's excessive? Well, my delay has 4 knobs on it, and I think that is more than enough. Any more than that, I feel like you're fiddling. I'm not a massive amount of controls guy, really.
My favourite delay is still a carbon copy.
Great delay. What do you think of the bright version? You tried that? I keep saying I'm going to buy one and try it, but
no, I haven't. I've got a reverb. Is it Canyons?
Yeah,
no, that's
an Electro harmonic
delay. I think Electro harmonics. One of the reverbs.
All right.
What's the Electro harmonics classic reverb that they did?
Oh,
they did a nano version of it.
The
small
stone.
Small clone.
Small stone.
No, that's the
chorus and phase.
I'm gonna have to put this one to bed now.
Or the Holy Grail. There's the Holy Grail.
It's the one that has the switch. That's the one that has the switch to have shimmer.
Yeah. Albus has it.
Yeah, it's the Holy Grail.
Yeah, Holy Grail.
That is super bright. A really bright reverb, and even turned right down.
Yeah,
it's really long. It's only got a mix, so that's a mix.
Yeah,
and it's just, you can either have it. It's just really long,
or not.
And how much long reverb do you want? And it's very bright. And sometimes you get a pedal and you're like, I don't really vibe with it, but it might be good for a project at some point, because
And plus,
it's
a lot
good
of
at
people
what it
buy it,
does.
this might happen.
Yeah, it's good at what it does, but
Mm.
not for me all the time. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know why we got to that, but yeah, the bright
Yeah.
version of the carbon
The
copy. No, I haven't tried
carbon
it,
copy.
because
I
everybody
d-
says carbon copy is too dark, and I'm like, that's what
I
delay
like
should
the
be.
dark repeats. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The best
Yeah.
delay that I've got is the Homebrew Electronics Mimic 2. They're
Really?
out of business now. So I bought one. My father-in-law convinced me to refinish it and sell it. I was like, should I? And he's like, yeah. And as soon as I did, I was like, oh my God, I want my pedal back. Found one again. I think Hot Rocks in the UK had a few of them. They had like 2 of them
Brilliant.
left. I bought one for like 100 quid. And now but they're the full on, the old school Bucket Brigade chips.
Bucket
and
Brigade,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's got a longer delay time, so I think it must be 2 circuits. That's it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I'll tell you what. You want a long delay Bucket Brigade. This is my favourite delay.
Oh, come on. What is that?
Carlsberg.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Carlsberg Mantis.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
It's absolutely insane.
Yep.
I'd have it just for the look.
The only thing I would take over that's the Echoplex.
Yeah. But it's so it's got dry in, dry out, wet in, wet out, all sorts of things. I use this for I did a couple of EPs back in the day, and I actually used this for mastering because the preamp on it is so squishy. Really, really nice. And I sold the first one I had when I was a broke ass student, and then I spent years trying to find one, and I finally find one, and it's only got the instruction manual with it as well.
Oh yeah,
with a block diagram.
Oh,
and
you need to build that. You need to build it, mate.
So,
How can you not?
Yeah,
finding the components are going to be hard.
Yeah. It's got some big old chips in it. But yeah, that's you talking about delays. That's my favorite delay.
Yeah, that's for an analog delay, especially. Yeah. Actually,
I've talking to you about this. I think I might do do a little review of that on there, or do a little thing on YouTube about that. Actually, that would be really cool.
Funnily enough, I'm in the middle of filming have you heard of a Revox? Like a Revox reel-to-reel tape machine.
Yeah.
The preamp out of one of them, someone's Vero boarded it, and I was like, now I have to build this. It's 3 germanium transistors in it, 2 NPN and 1 PNP. I'm like, come on. So I've got that to do next.
Nice. So has it got anywhere you can adjust the gains on it?
Well, it's got a volume gain. Yeah. Oh, you mean on the transistor?
Guitar pedal kind of, territory.
Yeah, so they've basically modified it slightly to run off 9 volts instead of 20 something or whatever it was. Yeah. Apparently, it sounds like a fuzz. I've listened to sound samples. You can kind of make it fuzzy or not with a few tweaks.
Oh, okay.
But it seems like a good. It'll be one of them videos that I make that I love, and I think it's amazing to do well. I've got like 200 people watch it because Whereas my Tube Screamer video in a week and a half has got like 7.5K views because it's a Tube Screamer, and I thought no one's going to want to see this.
Anything with the tubes, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Keywords, keywords too.
Yeah.
Well, I built one of my friends. I don't know if you follow Ferrotone Studios. Funniest guy on the internet. He's hilarious. But I built him a fuzz pedal in a gas mask.
Just
because
I've seen it. Yeah.
I thought he'd enjoy that. Like, it'll be something funny. And I thought people are going to find this really quirky, love it. And it got like 0 views. No one cared. It's like, that's not a fuzz face or a Tube Screamer, so I don't want to know.
Yeah. Isn't it mad how it, I mean, I've definitely got the hang of, well, not got the hang, but realized that riding a wave is definitely a good way to go, so like with these Behringer things, I've ordered them
Yeah.
And as soon as they're announced, I've pre-ordered them from Anderton's. They come in literally. I'm the first person to get them, and I'll drop everything and record something and upload it the same day.
I'm still waiting for my fuzz bender.
Yeah,
still.
Yeah.
I should have ordered it from Anderton's. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I won't say you've ordered
and
it from a big shop.
Oh, right. Yeah. And because of that, the videos that I've done on those have really taken, done well. I mean, I think I've got about 10K on the Vibe one at the moment in less than 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been watching. It convinced me that I want one, funnily enough. Brass Master or whatever it is, I want that.
The Brass Master, that's a great. Yeah. That's actually. I mean, I haven't played a Brass Master. I keep meaning to contact.
Leighton Lemon.
What's it? Leighton Lemon. Yeah, he does a Brass Master. Yeah.
He's very good, and what a nice guy as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, funnily enough, when he got his big shout out on that pedal show, I contacted him. I said, for God's sake, set up a wait list now, because you've got to catch this like straight away, otherwise it will just dive down out the other side.
Mistake I made. Yeah,
and he did, and he's still making orders now from it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but then Behringer pedals, I'm gonna buy them all and I'm gonna mod them all, and I come up with some mods for every one of them. And people will hate me in the comments and tell me how I'm putting old components in a cheap pedal.
The mod setting is so extreme. Yeah. The honk on it is so extreme. I'm almost certain they've put something active in there.
What you mean, like some sort of boost into it or something?
It's got such a steep Q on one particular, and there's no inductors, there's nothing in there, so I'm sure it's some sort of active EQ.
It's a larger circuit as well, so I don't think changing the input cap would really make that big difference.
No, I don't think they're. I don't think they've just done it with capacitor changes. I think they've done it with something that's a little bit more sophisticated than that.
I like that they've used on some of the key components. So
they've used monolithic capacitors on everywhere it needs a capacitor. They're big monolithic capacitors. The rest of it's SMT, which is like they've got their reasons for that. Then
it's a selling point, maybe, or I think Behringer actually manufacture the capacitors, don't they?
Well,
do they not own a warehouse or the factory?
You're talking about the capacitors or electrolytics that are monolithic.
They've got like box caps in them. Film caps.
They're ceramic box caps. And they're all.
That might have something to do with like the tone section. If those are caps in the tone section, that's where you can get a big difference. Yeah.
The full spender, my goal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record a demo with it as is, and then I'm just going to change the capacitor for the same value, or a vintage one, or something cool, and just see how much it changes the tone, and that can be like the whole video for that one. And then I'm going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean they're easy to take apart. Sorry,
what are the transistors? Are they micro things?
Yeah, they're SMT transistors. Yeah.
I'm going to change them for large ones. I'm going to probably put something expensive and old in there.
Yeah.
After it, just
you have to do something off board. You have to wire in to the SMT pads, I guess, and do something off board. But there's lots of room in there.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm going to do that. I've changed diodes before. I'm sure I'll just
figure it out.
The traces bizarrely are bigger than the pads.
Okay. So I could just cut the trace and straight in there.
You could possibly
give me a scrape. This is what I'm going to do with the mechanical connection. I'm going to lift the trace, bend it over, and then make a hook with my wire, put them together, solder and heat shrink, and run it off board. And do you know what else I'm going to do? I'm brainstorming while I'm going. I'm going to drill holes in the enclosure. I've done this before, and put the Mullard transistors poking through the holes and glue them in place. So
there you go.
And then if people want to add cold things to them to make it sound differently, they can.
I mean they're. I mean it's quite a difference in size.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the original Mark II.
Yeah.
So
they're like a micro Mark II. I like that.
But I've got to say they've done a really good scaling job on it.
Yeah, it's like
I think
what 3/4
done
scale.
really
I wish I
well.
could buy just them enclosures.
Yeah.
It's like a 3/4
Fuzz cases,
scale.
if you're still on, get on that. They'd be good.
Sorry. Yeah.
Fuzz cases needs to get on.
Yeah. Warm Audio did something really similar though.
Yeah, they did.
But they look a bit funky in shape. They don't look. The shape looks.
They're not. They haven't got quite the
tape.
taper. I don't think.
Yeah.
But,
I'm looking forward to that. The question is, do I refinish it or do I leave it as it is? That's the question.
Oh, you got to refinish it.
Got to refinish it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of stick for using nitro on pedals lately. People are like,
really?
Yeah. They're like, why are you aging pedals? They don't age like that. Like,
who cares? Who cares? If you want it to look a certain way, make it look a certain way.
Just show them that.
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's got none of the black. Well, very little of the black finish left on it.
I think that's amazing. I think that's better than finding one in mint condition.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, this wasn't working. Okay, I paid. I paid 600 quid for that.
Yeah,
and there's working. And I didn't see any others. I've been looking for a Gen Fuzz for ages, and I haven't seen any for a long while. And then I bought this, and now I see them for like $2,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But you've got a piece of history now. Do you know what I mean? That's what I see it as.
Well, that's what I based the Super J on.
Yeah, I remember seeing I think it might have been a video or something like that.
It's my Electro Harmonics frequency analyzer. I mean, that's what a frequency analyzer should look like, after it's been used for a while.
Yeah.
I've got to go in and clean it out, and I was reverse engineering it at one point, and then I discovered that there are certain ICs you can't find, which is the reason why it sounds so good. Like you can't get a ring modulator that sounds exactly like this anymore. No. You'll never get the same ring mod sound as you will from the original, because you just can't find the IC anymore, and it's in a really weird package too. And
is it like in a straight line, like the old Boss?
No, it's in a can.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, and it's something that they just don't make. They don't make an equivalent of it even. Like you can get an approximation, but it just will not sound the same.
That's it. There's a thing about the old stuff. I would pay more for a battered TS-808 that's barely got any paint left on it than I would a pristine one, because it's the whole story, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's got its history. It's been places. It's absolutely. I'm all for that. It's why I've always lived in Victorian houses, and when this one came up, the renovation project, and there's quite a few things. It's had a hard life. It had some subsidence on the front 20 years ago, and all the tiled hallway has got cracks in it, and it's it's a bit slightly wonky. It's fine. It's not dangerous, not trip hazard. And a few people have said, "Oh, when are you going to get all that sorted out?" And we're like, that's the story of the house.
It's the house,
yeah.
It's you could try and sort that out and do worse damage than if you just left it be too.
Yeah, or just turn it into
those houses, the windows and the height of the ceiling. My wife's an estate agent, and she would die to live in one of those big old. Yeah, I mean, we drive up to Liverpool, and when we go past them all, she's like, "These houses are lovely. Like the area isn't love. You wouldn't want to live here."
Yeah. Because we're lucky. I mean, we've got like big, like 11-foot ceilings, and all the coving and all the plaster work and stuff still intact. So,
but they're built to last. The walls are so thick. Like the modern builds are literally a bit of plasterboard. It's insane.
Well, we came so we were living in a fairly modern sort of 25, 30-year-old build. Yeah. For a while, renting while we looked for somewhere, and that's the most modern house I've ever lived in, and it was just different world. Yeah, didn't
especially if you have a noisy hobby.
Yeah, exactly. But but the point is that the whole thing was showing the life and being a bit tired and I've stripped the staircase back to bare wood, and that's how we're going to have it. And lots of people are saying, "Oh, what colour are you going to paint it?" And it's like, why not? It's staying like that,
Yeah.
And it's got a dark strip down the middle where it had some sort of
runner or
rubber
something
underlay that has made the wood a bit darker, and stuff like that. Again, it's the story of the
it's
house.
just like your Telecaster with the scrapes on the bottom and stuff. You could never paint over that because it's a story.
Yeah, same with you. Yeah, so that's. I mean, and also I think there's also the thing where with relict items, you don't pay as much reverence to your instrument or to your pedal or whatever, so you treat it as a tool. So you're not like, oh, this thing's so pretty, I can't treat it like I can't give it some,
I genuinely don't do it to make them look old. I do it to make it's 2 colors or 3 colors or whatever, and it's become its own thing. I don't like. I mean, when I see these relic guitars now and the sparkle purple or something like that, I don't see it as them trying to make it look old. It's just an art form. It's just a visual.
I mean, the Novo, I think, are probably the guys that are doing the most incredible job of relicing. Yeah,
I had a little go of Zach from Mythos's Novo at Birmingham before they moved when it was still in Bingley Hall, and I don't like the longest scale, the 25.5-inch scale ever on a guitar, but that thing was just so light, resonant. The longer scale felt natural on my short, stumpy body. It was so weird. Yeah, it was a real nice guitar.
See, I like baritone scale length, so I mean 28 and 3/4. I mean, I play bass too, so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Novo have made their own niche type thing, haven't they? They are what they are.
Yeah,
There's
Paul Reed Smith does
guitars being made at the moment. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Trent making some good stuff. Fidelity in the UK as well, making some great stuff.
It was just the Trident Les Paul, look like Region 7 guitars. Have you seen them?
Yeah. And Iverson.
Oh God, yeah. There's some real good. The problem is the prices are getting expensive. And I was speaking to I won't name names, but one of my friends emailed me this morning saying, "Look at the price of the new Marshalls. The hand-wired ones are $3,500 plus." He said it's getting a bit silly now. And then I priced up my last amplifier build, and I was like, the parts cost me nearly $1,500.
Yeah, it's not that silly.
And then you add in the build, it's the cost of everything.
Yeah, I mean valves and transformers.
That's why I like,
especially.
That's why I like motorless kits. His transformers, I think he winds them himself now. So they're getting them from Primary or Demeter. Anyway, he winds them himself. They're amazing. His transformers are literally second to none. His kits are great. But if you tried to split that kit up by itself,
I've got Mercury's in that one, and
Mercury's are
it's got some grunt. It's I think
Transformers are
speaker on it.
What are you thinking about going to?
I mean, sorry?
What are you thinking about going to?
What speaker wise? Well, I've got a Ted Weber T12 25A, I think it is, which is that's his 5E3 thing. But it's got a bit. It hasn't got quite enough headroom for me. It's a bit too squishy. It's a really squishy amp, and having a really squishy,
speaker
doesn't really do what I want it to do. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's 10 years old now, so it's well worn in. But I think I just fancy a change. And I was talking to this guy, Gwyn Ashton, who's Australian. Amazing guitar player. He's a Australian guy, but he lives in the UK, and he's a real fanatic when it comes to tweeds. And he was saying that the Jensen PQ, he said all the Jensens are shit except this one. And it goes in a tweed really well. And I've got it in a message somewhere from him. I think it's a Jensen PQR or something. He said, yeah, that's one. And it's got some give in it, but it's also still got a bit of detail. Whereas I think sometimes in the tweeds, you need something with a bit of detail because the amp has got so much give in it when it's cranked. You know, you need something to actually translate that.
I've got like the Weber version of a G12 in my tweed. Well, my tweed is like a Filmo sound that I've just gutted and made a tweed amp out of.
Is that that's an Alnico, isn't it?
Yeah.
What you've got? Yeah. It might be the same thing.
But to be fair, the best speaker that I've heard any amp go through is my JBL E1 Mono 10-inch speaker. It's in a bare-face cab, and every guitar show I go to, it outsounds everything. I can be next to the loudest 412, and you put that on with my little Victory amp or whatever, and people are playing 100 watt whatever, and it just sounds bigger because it's just
really
so powerful. It's so powerful and so clean. Like when you mix it with the tweed, it's exactly what you were saying. You know, the amp that gives in and the speaker that doesn't. There's something there. I was surprised, but I tell you what it does do is it highlights how shit I am at playing guitar. That's
the thing with detail, isn't it? Like the when I went up to High Watt, when I was on played the 200 watt super leads, it's so loud, and yet there is so much detail still at that deafening, and you just. I was frozen. It took quite a while for me. I had ear defenders on, and it's still deafening.
Yeah, it's like the first time I ever plugged into an SVT, like a real SVT, through the cabinet, and I was in a studio, and we cranked it up, and I was just like, "Whoa, this is what it's supposed to feel like." You know, you get hit with that, and you're just like, "Oh,
no,
terrifying."
Yeah.
You definitely
There's no substitute.
Yeah,
there is no substitute.
I've never played a 200 watt amp, but I've got the power transformer and output transformer from a Marshall Major, an old set. And I'm like, one day I'm building a Major. One day.
How big are they? Are they big old bits of iron?
I'll get one of them now.
Yeah. Any old iron?
We're going to see if my phone battery lasts long enough or not. I just got the 10% notice a little while back.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm down to 16 now, so that might.
Oh, that's massive. Yeah.
That's the output transformer. Power transformer. Sorry.
I saw a reel this morning of somebody in a studio, and the studio was full of smoke, and they scanned round this plume of smoke and down to this transformer, and it was literally smoke
arcing,
pouring out. They just absolutely cooked this transformer.
I had a Fender Champ I had a Fender Champ that it started arcing in the transformer, and it was taking tubes out like crazy. Like my tubes, like I'd retube it and it'd sound great, and then suddenly it would arc, and then the tubes just all go.
I had funnily enough, I had a Champ like that, and it was just red plating all the tubes constantly.
Yeah, constantly.
And, and it was going through, and that was long time ago.
Was
too
it a
long
silver
ago for me to try and work out.
Face? Was it a silver face?
Yes,
I think that was I think, and you probably had around the same year, because it turned out that was a known problem with the transformers.
Right. They were putting so much voltage out of them to make it cleaner in the whole silver face area. That's why you end up with the ultra linear things at the end, like the Basement 130 or whatever. It's insane. They were running things hot.
Yeah.
This is after Leo had left too. Leo was no longer there.
John, I think you've had just about every piece of gear that I could ever imagine.
I've either had it or played through it in all the studios that I've been involved in, or stuff that's just come across for trade. Yeah.
I really fancy a little 5 watt Princeton though.
Oh,
like the
those are great.
5.2 FA.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, like the Tweed Princeton.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's basically a champ with a tone stack, I think,
Yep.
from what I can work out.
So I've always wanted to build a Harvard just because the rare. I don't know, but
yeah,
I don't need.
But I'd probably put it in a 5E3 cabinet with a 12-inch cab, a 12-inch speaker.
There you go. Yeah, because that small speaker just doesn't.
10 watt Skylark GA5T.
Is that the one you tried to sell me?
No, mate. I've got.
No, that was another one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I bought one and fixed up. That one's the Tremolo one. I've had that for so long.
Yeah, not tried to. I was like interested in it, and it didn't work out. But,
So someone bought that and recovered it in like a cream. No, it was recovered in cream, and they recovered it in this. It looked a bit garish anyway. It was rather bright, and I was like a lime green Tolex or something. Why would you?
Oh, what, like that?
Yeah, but it's not an old lamp. Oh, no, that one's like
no, that's an Emprise. That
Emprise, is it? Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah, that's a tweed. It's a tweed super.
Yeah.
So it's the lost cousin between the 5E3 and the Super Reverb, basically.
Okay.
It's a twin, a 10-inch twin, 35 watt 5E3.
They do the 3 10-inch speaker combo as well, don't they?
Yeah, is that like the bass? No, the Bandmaster? No.
Vibroverb, is it? Something like that?
Maybe, yeah.
They have what, 2 10s and a 12? I've seen that.
No, it's three 10-inch speakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
just a 210.
Because it's the Stevie Ray Vaughan thing, you know. That.
Yeah.
I think Ainsley Lister's got the black panel on. I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the larger high-powered speaker version.
Yeah.
In fact, he did an episode with Tone Twins about it, and they had the older one, the tweed one, tweed or brown.
Yeah, they keep saying they want to do a thing with the Leo versus their selection of tweed amps.
I feel like that might be a little bit unfair on a Leo. To put it up against the actual 50. That's a great thing, though.
It'd be a bit of fun. I think it'd be a bit of fun. I mean, I've got, like I say, I've got a couple of tweeds here. That's close. That's kind of almost a high power twin, like a slightly shrunk version of a high power twin, 35 watts, 210 instead of 40 watts and 212. Then the 5E3, and I've had a champ before, so they're the 3 settings.
That would be really
in the Leo,
especially if they use something like a Tone Master amp for it to go into. So you can pay to have a Leo and a cheap amp that you could carry around, or you can pay thousands of pounds for the real thing.
I'd put it, to be honest, I'd probably put it into the high watt, because the high watt is you can get it fairly flat response. There's no, it's got so much headroom, so much clean headroom that it's not going to change the way it breaks up, which is more important than the tonal side of it. It's the break with the tweeds. It's all about the breakup. So and that kind of fast breakup that you know, it breaks up and then it kind of keeps where it is. Really, it's I love tweeds. Absolutely love them.
So interesting how much the I tell you what, I noticed the cab and the speaker makes so much difference in a tweed. I mean, you're doing anything really in a tweed. Because my cab was made because it's bigger and it sounds bigger because it's weird.
Yeah. No, it's I think it's because they're not with a lot of other amps. Sorry about that.
Because the lava layer.
Because they've got quite a lot of headroom. I don't know where my magnet's gone now. I'm going to stick it to my nipple probably.
We're going to find out about your piercings the hard way.
Yeah, I'll just have to sound like a real millennial influence and talking to it like that. So Yeah, the point with the tweed amps is that because the lack of headroom, whereas a lot of other amps have got, your master volume is your friend on lots of other amps, and I think you're hearing the master volume and the amp a lot more because you're kind of not necessarily going to the full range of the amp, whereas a tweed is flat out most of the time.
Yeah.
And so and I think that has a bearing on how the cabinet kind of reflects that, because it's like a car, isn't it? When you're flat out in a car, everything matters, whereas when if you've got a V8 in a Mini, you can be tootling along. And the engine's not really you're not really tickling the engine, but the rest of it's falling apart. So there we go.
It's like a resonant frequency, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like in an aircraft. When you're having an aircraft that vibrates out of the frequency range, it'll fly apart. I mean, literally, they had to start tuning things so that they just didn't fall apart in the sky. They were like, why are they falling out of the sky? It's because they're reaching speeds and vibration levels that they just couldn't handle.
Some things we've missed. Anyone up for a Mini Mark II?
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested in it, definitely.
That would be really interesting. Yeah. I mean,
pedal board size. Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, why not? Behringer copy everybody else. There's absolutely
copy Behringer. There's no.
It's got quite a decent draft angle on it, so it will cast fairly well.
Well, it looks nice.
It's made out of plastic, right?
No,
that one. No. Oh no, that's aluminum. Wow.
Oh,
I know. 50 quid.
Wow. It's got to be thin.
Yeah,
it's got to be.
It's absolutely insane. It's got a battery tray, a cast-in battery tray.
Oh yeah.
Is it? Another question: the Vibe internal trim pots. I've never touched them, mate. Fair Turn from the Sun says, has anyone tweaked them?
Yeah, I think he's talking about the Behringer one. It's even got trim pots in it. So I've looked at them. So there's a bass, treble, and a speed.
Okay.
So it's not EQ. It's the bass crossover point, the treble crossover point, where they fold and phase on each other. You can move where they happen.
Oh well, I wonder why they didn't put them on the outside.
Yeah, and then the speed is the speed range of the dial. So you can either you can twist like to it to be slow, or for it to be fast.
Okay.
So the maximum speed is really fast, and the minimum speed is not as slow as it could be, or the other way around. If that makes any sense.
I definitely like it slow, I think, but
it's I'm going to do again. I've got a whole list of videos that I want to do, and I want to do a sort of second follow-up, because I deliberately, when I did the teardown and the demo of it, I deliberately didn't go into those trim pots, because that was just going to extend the whole thing. So I think I might try and do something separate on that, just about this.
I try and make them minimum 20 minutes.
Found on Behringer.
20-minute videos or more, mate, and YouTube love it. I mean, we've nearly been on for 4 hours now, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to call time.
I'm going to have to call
I think
time,
so.
my phone's about to call
time. I've got 12% left.
I'm up at work at 5 o'clock, so
oh yeah.
Oh right, yeah. Okay. It's 1 o'clock. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you everyone for listening, and please, if you're not already, I'm sure everyone is following Markus on YouTube, and I shall see you later.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell.
Yes, like and subscribe, ring the bell icon, and long live freedom, damn it.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Cheers, Mark.